And welcome to the joint meeting of the City Council of the City of Marina Valley Community Services District, City as Successor Agency for the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Marina Valley Housing Authority, Marina Valley Public Financing Authority, and the Board of Library Trustees. The City Council receives a separate stipend for CSD meetings. I now call this regular City Council meeting to order on June 15, 2021 at 6 p.m. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand over your heart and begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Marquez,
Here.
Councilmember Cabrera,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Baca,
Here.
Mayor Gutierrez.
Here. Staff introductions, please.
Pat Jaquesnare, City Clerk.
Stephen Quintanilla, Interim City Attorney.
Mike Lee, City Manager.
Brian Mohan, Assistant City Manager, Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer.
Michael Wolf, Assistant City Manager, Director of Public Works, City Engineer.
Manuel Mancha, Community Development Director.
Patty Nevins, Planning Official.
Patty Solano, Parks and Community Services Director.
Abdul Ahmed, Fire Chief.
Lieutenant Chris Durham, representing Chief John Salisbury in the PD.
Okay, thank you to the staff for being here as well, and to members of the public. Before we begin tonight, I just wanted to inform everyone that we do have a brand new fire truck right outside. So whenever you get a chance, maybe when we have a break, members of the public, if you'd like to go check it out, we're really investing in public safety here in the city of Marina Valley, and so just want to let you know about that, and that way you have the opportunity to check it out. At this time, public hearing item F1 will be moved to the beginning of the agenda, and that's to accommodate and to allow speakers to be able to speak on the item, which is basically the Comprehensive General Plan Update, Climate Action Plan, and Municipal Code Zoning Ordinance Amendment and Zoning Atlas Amendment. What? Yes. I said F4? Oh, okay. Sorry, I meant F4. Okay, F4. Thank you for catching that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and have a report from our Community Development Department. And I believe Patty Nevins.
Thank you. And good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Tonight, we're excited to present to you the city's general plan update. The update's long been planned for, starting as early as 2016.
Can you guys close the door if you don't mind? Thanks.
Thank you. Starting as early as 2016, when the City Council approved initiatives related to a general plan update as part of the city's strategic plan, Momentum MoVal. In October 2019, the City Council approved a contract with Diet and Bhatia for preparation of a general plan update and associated documents, and work commenced within the same month. I'm proud to introduce you to the general plan update team. Andrew Hill with Diet and Bhatia is here. D&B is an award-winning urban planning firm with many, many years of experience, and Andrew and his team have done an outstanding job helping us with this general plan. They are joined by Recon Environmental, who is well known in the environmental world, and another key member of the team is Fair and Piers, who are renowned for their transportation work. Other subcontractors included Kaiser Marston and Urban Field Studio. The citywide review and collaboration, so you know, did include everyone on the city team, starting at the top with the city manager's office. It was reviewed and commented on by police and fire chiefs, directors from every department, and city staff as well. With approval, the general plan is going to ensure the city is in compliance with regulatory requirements and would also represent and articulate the highest goals as expressed by residents, the General Plan Advisory Committee, Planning Commission, and the City Council. So with that, I'll ask Andrew Hill to come up. He'll be presenting the general plan update. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Patty. And then there will be a time for our council to ask questions. So if you could just go ahead and do your presentation, and then we'll do after that public testimony, and then we'll ask our questions. Okay. Thank you. Oh.
I'm very excited tonight to have the opportunity opportunity to introduce to you the 2040 draft general plan, housing element, and climate action plan. I have a quick presentation to recap the process and to go over some of the highlights of the documents for you. Then we can take public comment and questions and comments from the council. If appropriate, the objective of the meeting tonight would be for the council to certify the EIR and to adopt the general plan, housing element, and climate action plan. So the Moreno Valley General Plan is the city's primary long-range planning tool, and it's a blueprint for how and where the city will grow over the next 20 years. The state of California recommends that cities update their general plans about once every 10 years, and Moreno Valley's current plan dates back to 2006, which means it hasn't been comprehensively updated in about 15 years. And as we all know, times have changed. Today we have new technologies like smartphones and internet shopping and autonomous vehicles that didn't exist 15 years ago. The city has changed a lot too. The population has grown substantially, and now Moreno Valley is a majority Hispanic community. We're also seeing the effects of climate change around us in the form of more frequent, more intense wildfires and hotter average daily temperatures. All of these things need to be addressed in the city's long-range planning. There's also a whole host of state laws that have come online that are triggering updates to the general plan to bring the city into compliance. There's SB 379, which requires an update to the safety element to address climate change. SB 1000 requires preparation of a new environmental justice element. SB 743 requires incorporation of vehicle miles traveled into the circulation element. And then there's also updates needed to bring the city's land use plan into consistency with March Air Reserve Base's land use plan. And then the housing element. Under state law, the city is required to have an adopted housing element in place by October of this year at the latest in order to accommodate its share of the regional housing need for the next 8 years. Failure to do that would mean that the city would be ineligible for certain funds from the state and would also be subject to additional regulatory requirements. So for all of those reasons, the time is right to update the general plan now. The land use map in the draft plan really involves only targeted changes to the current land use map. Those are primarily located in the concept areas shown on the map of the screen, which were the focus of community outreach activities and were reviewed with the General Plan Advisory Committee, with the Planning Commission, and with the City Council. There's also some targeted changes in the Edgemont area to make sure that the land use plan is consistent with the March land use plan. But outside of these areas, there's really no changes to land use or zoning over the current adopted map. The process was completed over an 18-month period in 4 distinct phases. The first phase involved outreach to the community to understand issues and opportunities and to develop a shared vision for 2040. That phase ended with the development of a vision statement and guiding principles that were reviewed with you all in February of last year and which the council approved. At that point, we moved into phase 2, which was about exploring different concepts for land use and transportation and design that could help achieve that vision. That resulted in a preferred concept that was reviewed with the City Council in June of last year. And upon approval, we moved into phase 3, which involved completing some technical analysis, forecasting the growth projections, completing traffic, air, noise, greenhouse gas emissions analysis, and crafting a detailed set of goals, policies, and actions for the plan, as well as completing environmental review. At the end of that third phase, the draft documents were released for a state-mandated 45-day public comment period, and we moved into the final phase, the adoption phase. Earlier this month, the Planning Commission reviewed the documents, and they unanimously recommended adopting the general plan, which brings us to today's meetings. Outreach for the project involved a variety of different strategies. We conducted 2 community-wide surveys. We held pop-up events at 6 different locations around town, including Snow Day and the tree lighting ceremony, as well as an event at Houndtown. We conducted a total of 5 workshops. 4 of them were in person, and 1, because of COVID, had to be converted to an online format. But that provided an opportunity for people to provide input from the comfort of their own home on their own time. We also did a focused environmental justice community listening session to hear about the priorities of the community's most disadvantaged residents. And we conducted a series of stakeholder interviews with housing developers, affordable housing developers, and affordable housing advocates to make sure that their input is reflected in the housing element. And we conducted 6 different meetings of the General Plan Advisory Committee throughout the process, in addition to a range of public hearings before the Planning Commission and before the City Council at key junctures in the process. The outreach that we conducted was bilingual. All of the public contact events that I mentioned were in both English and Spanish. You can see some examples of the flyers that were used to promote the process. I'd also point out that when we released the draft documents, we prepared an executive summary in both English and Spanish to make the contents of these rather large policy documents easily acceptable and understandable to the community. The vision and the guiding principles that I mentioned that were developed with community input and have really guided this process are organized around 4 key themes. The first theme is dynamic economy, and this involves expanding the economy into new sectors, providing jobs locally so that people don't have to commute long distances to work, and providing a flexible land use framework that can accommodate job growth over time. The second theme is about vibrant gathering places, and this involves creating new mixed-use town centers that provide an opportunity for people to come together to live, to work, and to play. But it also involves ensuring that the design of public spaces respects the cultural diversity of Moreno Valley. And the third theme is livable neighborhoods, and this involves promoting a range of different housing types that can be affordable to people of all ages, at all income levels, and at all stages of life. But it also involves a focus on neighborhood safety and on active, healthy lifestyles. And then the final theme is about community identity. And this involves building sense of place in Moreno Valley and strengthening local pride. These guiding principles are embedded throughout the general plan, which is organized into 10 chapters that correspond to the requirements under state law. And it also includes an economic development element and a community character element, which represent priorities for the community. Land use is really at the core of any general plan, and the 2040 general plan land use element provides a robust policy framework to guide the creation of a new downtown center that can serve as the hub and focal point of the community, but also can be a destination for people from around the region. This is a concept that really speaks to the guiding principles for dynamic economy and for vibrant gathering places. And it was strongly supported in the community during outreach conducted during phases 1 and 2. Located at the prominent crossroads of Nason and Alessandro, the downtown center would incorporate the 2 hospital complexes, the Aquabella Specific Plan area, and the Lewis Homes Town Center site. The policies would foster a vibrant mix of employment, entertainment, cultural, and shopping and residential uses. Some of the key features include a new central park, attracting sports and recreation amenities like a Topgolf or even a minor league soccer stadium to the area. There would be employment campuses incorporated into the area, along with new shopping, office, and higher density residential development. The guidelines incorporated into this element would ensure that the architecture and the site design is of the highest quality to rival anything in the region. The policies in this element also seek to guide change in other areas of the city. For example, introducing mixed use along key corridors like Alessandro and Paris and Sunnymead in order to create more walkable and bikeable environments. And new standards and guidelines for development at key gateways into the city in order to create attractive entryways into Moreno Valley and raise the visual profile of the community. All of the elements in the general plan were comprehensively updated. What I'd like to do now is spend a little time on some of the key highlights from other elements. We prepared a brand new economic development element that builds on Moreno Valley's strengths and seeks to attract new jobs in other sectors like cybersecurity, like aerospace, for example. There's a strong focus in the element on local workforce development, making sure that local residents have the education, the training, and the skills to take on the new jobs that will be created. there's also a focus in the policies on promoting local business-to-business commerce so that businesses in Moreno Valley are doing business together and keeping the dollars local. The circulation element involves a brand new circulation diagram based on the layered network model to promote safety and improve traffic flow. It involves the creation of 2 new street typologies, a mixed-use boulevard and a neighborhood collector. But there's also a strong focus on incorporating technology to help improve the safety and the efficiency of the system. So intelligent transportation systems, autonomous vehicles, and dynamic messaging signs, rideshare, for example. And there's a focus on transportation demand management that can help reduce job-related trips and reduce congestion, reduce noise, and reduce air pollution. The Parks and Public Services element identifies some new locations for neighborhood and community parks. This was based on an analysis of the walkability, walking access to existing parks, and we identified underserved areas, and you can see the green stars on the map represent potential locations for new parks. The policies in this element also provide a funding strategy to help for the creation of those parks and the completion of the master plan of trails, including equestrian staging areas. This element also deals with public safety, and there's a strong focus on community-based policing and crime prevention strategies in response to comments that we heard from the community. There's also a focus on forecasting the utility needs of the community and making sure that the infrastructure is going to be adequate to support the development in the future. We prepared a housing element to accommodate the city's share of the regional housing need for the next 8 years, which is projected to be about 13,600 units. The housing element included an assessment of community needs, including the needs of lower income households and other disadvantaged groups. It included an inventory of potential sites for residential development and a forecast of the reasonable capacity on those sites. It analyzed potential barriers to housing development and presented a suite of programs that could help address those issues. We also prepared a climate action plan to help ensure the city will meet its state mandated targets for GHG reduction measures, for GHG emissions rather. The measures included would apply to new development and to city operations, and they would include things like installing electric vehicle charging infrastructure, encouraging more energy efficient industrial buildings, and trip reduction strategies that would apply to large employers, large residential developments, and also to schools. These measures were proven to enable the city to meet its state mandated targets, but also having a cap in place will help to streamline the CEQA process for subsequent projects and provide cost savings for job generating development and housing projects. An EIR was prepared to identify and to mitigate the potential impacts of implementing the general plan, the housing element, and the climate action plan. The CEQA process is shown on the right of the screen here, and it involved multiple opportunities for community input. At the outset of the process, we held a scoping period for 30 days, which was an opportunity for public agencies and community members to share their thoughts on the scope and the content of issues to be analyzed in the EIR. That feedback was taken on board, and we produced a draft EIR that addressed all of the issue areas required under CEQA, everything from agriculture and air quality and biological resources to noise and utilities and wildfire. The draft EIR was released for a 45-day comment period starting on the 2nd of April. It was shared with all of the public agencies listed here. And they had the opportunity to provide input and comment as well. Overall, the findings of the EIR are summarized here, and overall, the vast majority of impacts was found to be less than significant. Out of a possible total 68 impacts, 55 of them were found to be less than significant. There were 2 potential impacts, one related to paleontological resources and another related to construction vibration that were found. It was found that they could be reduced to a less than significant level with mitigation. And so the remaining 11 potential topics were found that even after the implementation of all feasible mitigation measures, they would remain significant and unavoidable. Now, that's not the end of the road. I'll get into that in a moment. There's still opportunities to address those potential impacts, but they cover issues like the conversion of 15 acres of agricultural land to urban uses, construction phase, air quality, impacts to certain sensitive species, tribal cultural resources, noise related to traffic and to construction, and vehicle miles traveled. I want to point out that it's not uncommon for a general plan to result in significant and unavoidable impacts. In fact, all of the alternatives that were analyzed in the EIR also resulted in significant and unavoidable impacts. And CEQA provides a mechanism for cities to use in this case. What the city can do is to adopt a statement of overriding considerations, which essentially says that even though there would be significant environmental impacts from the project, those are outweighed by the economic, social, and technological benefits of the project. So in the case of MoVal 2040, that means local job creation and tax revenue. That means a broader range of housing types that can be affordable to people at all ages and all stages of life. It means the creation of that new downtown center and facilitating development at the Moreno Valley Mall. It means those guidelines for gateways and corridors, and it means quality of life amenities like new parks, trails, and activities and programs for youth. So the general plan EIR is what we call a programmatic EIR, which means it's a high-level document, and subsequent projects that come forward under the general plan will still be required to do some level of environmental review. And that's to make sure that any project or site-specific impacts are taken care of. So the general plan EIR is not the end of the road. In parallel with the general plan update, staff completed some zoning amendments that can implement the goals, policies, and actions from the land use element. That involved removing high-density residential uses from areas in the airport safety zone around the March Air Reserve Base. It involved adding mixed use and residential uses to areas that would be now designated corridor and center mixed use. It involved creating new zoning to implement the business flex designation and make sure that it's consistent with ALUC regulations. And it also involved adding and adjusting certain densities to certain residential areas in order to meet the housing element requirements. So in conclusion, this plan really responds to all of the guiding principles that were developed on the basis of community input and approved by the council last February. It includes a really innovative land use framework that can help create the downtown center and facilitate development at the Moreno Valley Mall. It includes a brand new economic development element that focuses on local jobs, economic diversification, and workforce training. It includes a citywide strategy to promote housing that's affordable to people at all ages and all stages of life, as well as a robust safety element that includes some cutting-edge strategies to help address the risk of wildfire and flooding. And it includes policies to create new parks, trails, recreational facilities, and amenities for youth in particular. Overall, this plan presents a vision for 2040. It addresses those emerging issues and trends, and it'll help ensure that the city is compliant with state law. My firm has done about 65 general plans up and down the state, and I've been involved in about 12 of them. And I can honestly say that this is one I'm particularly proud of because I do believe it'll help you achieve your goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We'll move to public testimony. I'm going to go ahead and open the hearing. Okay, Madam Clerk, how many speakers do we have for this particular item?
7.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do 3 minutes each speaker. And as you come up here to speak, just be prepared once your name is called, and then also to stay on topic because it is only on this item, the general plan update. Okay, Madam Clerk, go ahead and call the first 3 speakers.
Thornsley, David Slauson, and Angel Lopez Ramirez.
Good evening, council members. I need to make a point of order. There was no motion made to move this item to the front of the agenda. That is typical procedure. You guys are currently in violation of doing that. So with that said, let me get started. You're undertaking consideration of the general plan amendment without one of the seated members of the council. District 2 has approximately 50,000 people in the city who have gone unrepresented through the entire process this year. That's a quarter of the people here in the city. If you continue to do this without someone representing them, you basically are denying what should be a proper and open and fair and transparent process that's taking place. District 2 has some areas in there that a lot of people have spoken up with and have made requests that you continue this item. There are concerns of some of the land use changes that are proposed up there. One of the items, which was some property that's being redesignated to R10, it never showed on any of the previous workshops or meetings hosted with the city. It suddenly showed up when they saw the land use map in the general plan. When the general plan and the EIR and the climate action plan were circulated, it was the first time everybody saw all of those things. A lot of questions came up to the content of the general plan. No answers were provided on any of the content of the general plan or the climate action plan. Comments that were made or comments returned to most people's questions were that those items weren't relevant to the EIR, but they are relevant to the document at hand. There's a lot of small nuances within that document that need to be clarified, need to be fine-tuned. You have goals and policies that are weak. They use words like should instead of shall. The same thing applies to a lot of the mitigation measures that are there. They are not strong mitigation measures. You have some that really should be definitive to make things happen, as opposed to letting it fall back to staff, looking at a particular project and going, it's close. It's, or the applicant may not even have to do it. What I really hope, and I wish I could have spoken on items not on the agenda before, because I wanted to request that this item be continued, that at least 2 council members object to any hearings on this thing and force this project to be tabled until you have the elected representative in District 2. I hope you guys understand that, because once the meeting, the public comment period ends, even if you stalemate on this,
Thank you.
can't,
Next speaker,
you can't
please.
bring it back.
David Slauson, followed by Angel Lopez Ramirez, and then Lindsay Robinson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Excuse me. My name is David Slauson. I've served since I came here in 1975. Lived in the east end of Moreno Valley since 1985. When I came here, there was one traffic signal at Sunnymead Boulevard and Heacock Street. We had about 40,000 people, so it's grown about 5-fold. I expect growth will continue. There's still a lot of open space. I own a local engineering and surveying business, and I'm an attorney at law. Since 1985, I've continuously served on a commission or committee, state or local, or a board. I served on the planning commission for 7 years. We adopted the first general plan. We really focused on a vision for the city, housing to jobs balance, quality of life issues, and protection of the environment. I've reviewed this general plan update and the elements and the categories of the EIR and the climate action plan. I found them all adequate. I thought everything was thoroughly addressed. I saw the responses from planning staff on to the EIR and the general plan. I thought those were on point. I think one of the things we look at is jobs to housing balance. And in places like Moreno Valley, we can't rely, if we want the amenities, the parks, libraries, road maintenance, etc., we can't rely on homeowners' property taxes. They're just not adequate. You need business property taxes and you need sales tax, among other things. Now, if we were Beverly Hills, where the median home sells for $3.5 million, maybe they could rely mostly on houses and housing taxes, but we can't. So if the residents are to get the amenities we want, we really need to have a good balance. I liked the highway office commercial uses proposed. They capitalize on our highway frontage. We might as well. and it's probably the most appropriate land use to have right along the freeway. I like the increased residential densities in some of the most of the areas, just in order to meet our regional requirements. I like the downtown center. I like that hub, pedestrian friendly, mixed retail and mixed use, and that in a sense is an amenity as well to the residents, because we can go to the store, we can go to the restaurant and enjoy the view. I thought it was very innovative, the business flex and the mixed use land uses. I thought that was innovative and very promising. I thought overall the general plan update has a lofty goal for our city, and I urge you to approve it. I recommend approval. I support it. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Next speaker, Angel Lopez Ramirez, Lindsay Robinson, and Janet Bernabe.
Good evening, council members, members of the staff, members of the public. Angel Lopez Ramirez, candidate for Moreno Valley District 2, public servant, combat veteran, and wounded warrior. I am here in opposition of this agenda item at 4. And thank you, Mr. Thornsley, for echoing many of the sentiments from constituents in District 2 who are not equally represented in this process. This is a public disservice, acting on prejudice and bias going forward with this measure. And I urge the council to table the matter tonight until a member of District 2 is properly elected and we, 1/4 of the city, are equally represented in this matter. This due process is not due process. This is just a biased, prejudice process that's been going on from day one. And unfortunately, with our council member passing away, we do not have a voice in the seat there next to Mayor Pro Tem Victoria Baca. We do not have a portrait of our council member outside in the halls. So where's our voice? Where's our representative? Who can we go to convey our concerns? Now, Councilmember Marquez, Councilmember Cabrera, I do thank you and do acknowledge you folks for covering down. However, the seat remains empty. We need to elect a representative. And please, council, table the matter until we have a representative in District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Lindsay Robinson, Janet Bernabe, and Carolyn Brodewer.
Thank you. It's sad that you moved us to the front because people were coming later because it's near the end of the meeting. First off, it's a very biased committee full of people that are just friends of the mayors. We asked for a Northeast representative because we knew that land use would be changed. R10 was snuck in. It wasn't at the public meeting at Ironwood and Moreno Beach. You can still meet your RENA quota by leaving that as R2 animal keeping. We're losing all our animal keeping areas, and R10 is not going to stop at Ironwood. All the other developers are now going to come forward. The EIR is horrible. It has no teeth, just like Ms. Korzak said at the Planning Commission meeting. You have to have definitive things that will protect us. Our sleep is disrupted by that paper company. The people did not do a good enough job on staff at stopping the noise there. We need that fixed. A lot of people didn't have internet when this first COVID shutdown. This thing should have stopped then. You know, all of a sudden people's lives are drastically changed, life and death. Kids, everyone has to be on the internet. Internet wasn't ready for everyone to be on the internet. So for the city staff to tell us we should have been checking the website, rather than them telling us that it's our responsibility, that's wrong. There's no minute meetings, we were told, but then the consultant said there was. Planning commissioners, 2 of the planning commissioners had no clue of this entire process, the committee members, or anything involved. It was very disheartening to see that. Why are the residents more informed than the planning commissioners? There are no truck routes in our area. How are those commercial businesses going to be serviced? Are you going to change all our roads to truck routes? Office is the best thing for up there. They work usually during regular business hours. Our night skies and our views will not be hampered, as well as no trucks and traffic. Let's see. Residents on Redlands Boulevard, there are homes between the freeway and Hemlock. They have not been notified at all that you guys proposed to change them to commercial. I checked with the resident that lived there. They have gotten no notification at all. That's wrong. Planning Commission, that was just bad. The EIR, you guys have received letters from CEQA attorneys and the South Coast AQMD. You know that is a bad EIR. It has no teeth. It should not be approved at all until it's revised and has some strength. We know how this city operates right now. We hope there will be changes. We know that some of these developers are going to come back and say, oh, the EIR was approved with the GP, the general plan update. We don't need to do another one. So individual projects are not going to be safeguarded and protecting the residents that live there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speakers, please.
Janet Burnaby, Carolyn Brodeur, and Carrie Thin.
Hi, good evening. My name is Janet Bernabe. I'm the organizing director for the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice. Today, I'm just here to address the concerns for community members. And I'm just restating that the general plan is technically the blueprint for long-term development of Moreno Valley, which is very, very important to address the concerns of community members. I saw that, there was outreach, but at a point where COVID hit in the pandemic, they had to go virtually, and community members were not ready, honestly, trying to think about other things that they needed to do. So opposing it or not approving it today is a smart idea, especially to be able to address the concerns of community members. And now heard as well that District 2 doesn't have a representative, and it's been some time to be able to address the issues and also represent that side of the community. So I truly my point overall is, do more outreach. More concerns needs to be addressed of the community members, and overall, as we can tell, I've been seeing the same community members come out here and address their concerns. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Next speakers.
Carolyn Brodeur, Carrie Thin, and Tom Jarrell Sr.
Am I started? Okay. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I just recently bought my family's property. And sorry. My dad bought this house in 1980. It was his American dream. And you want to take my dad's American dream by putting a bunch of apartments in our rural area. You want to take away my dad's American dream. My dad was a B-52 pilot. He served in Vietnam. We moved as a military family all over the United States. We had no hometown. This was our hometown. Finally, my dad found a place for us to settle. He chose Northeast Moreno Valley, which wasn't even a city yet. He chose that area because it's rural, because of the half-acre lots sizes. And you want to sneak in these apartment complexes, multifamily homes on us? So anybody who wants to go buy a house, don't buy a house where there's undeveloped land, because their city council is going to wait till your wonderful city council person dies. Waited till she died to try to sneak this in on us. That is so corrupt and crooked and underhanded. You need to wait till we have a representative. Gosh, I told my sister, why did I buy this house from her? I bought it from her, and now I'm wishing we should have bought a house in Norco or somewhere else. And if this goes through, I'm going to put my house on the market, and I'm getting out of Moreno Valley, because I don't want to live by a bunch of apartments with crime and all that. I want a rural area where the burros go around that area. Okay, it's a very wonderful area. You could see the scenic views, and now you want to destroy that and our American dream, my dad's American dream, my parents' American dream. Thank you very much.
Next speakers, please.
Carrie Thin, Tom Jarrell Sr., and Susan Zeitz.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Carrie Thin, and I'd like to obviously address the general plan. Starting with the very first General Plan Advisory Committee meeting in January of 2020, there were problems. Appointment of developers that were not residents. No appointment of a resident from the primary animal keeping or agricultural areas. And those areas are yellow and brown slashed on this map, which is quite a large area with many residents. Any one of them could have been selected to be a member of the GPAC, but they were not. In addition, our district meeting was canceled without rescheduling, even though I had counted 9 other meetings were held, but according to the consultant that I just heard, there were actually 14, but yet our district had none. Then in April of 2021, the plan and the EIR were released with previously undisclosed information such as zoning changes. It also lacked a real plan for safe streets, as it did not recognize the incredible truck traffic faced by our residents or direct trucks to suitable routes. There was also no plan to create restrictive truck areas to protect our schools, our religious centers, our hospitals, and of course, our residential areas. Virtually all of these issues were stated at the GPAC meetings and at last week's Planning Commission hearing. But we are still here tonight without resolution. And why? The process asked us for input. We provided it. But in our model city, it appears as though residents that might offer alternatives that would help move us forward are avoided or ignored. They might not necessarily see things in the same light as the city, but their voices must be valued. Instead of compromise, we get dictation from beginning to end. I personally would like a MoVal 2040 plan that I can support, promote, and embrace, but not until the people most impacted and most affected are heard. I would like to see this plan delayed until it is inclusive of all of the groups that it left out. Only then can we be the model city that we aspire to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Tom Jarrell, Susan Zeitz, and David Zeitz.
Tom Gerald, speaking on behalf of myself and a little bit for the Sundance Center, where I spent a bit of time. Mayor Gutierrez, Mayor Protem Baca, council members, members of the staff, and the public, both watching at home and here in the chamber, thank you for conducting this meeting. You know, I was on the very first general plan committee way back in, actually, we were in session for 4 years, well, 2 years in session, and then we went in abeyance until it went through planning commission, which Mr. David referred to, and went through planning commission, city council, and came back to us for final report. 4-year process, way too long, actually. I don't say it to brag or beat it to death, just that I've got some history. I've watched all the subsequent general plan programs, and candidly, as I was re-listening to the consultant tonight, and I had attended some of the early hearings, it's a very thorough, in-depth plan. And I'm really impressed with the amount of you know, I mean, the broad expansiveness it's very, very comprehensive plan. So, and I bluntly, I think it's one of the best. I do support it. Is it perfect? No, never a perfect plan. But the reality is these things can be amended. They probably will be amended, and there'll be another general plan at some point in the future. This gets us, you know, from A to B, and then you get from B to C, and C to D, and you move on in life. And so we just keep rolling along. And but I do think it's a good plan. Some really neat elements that I especially like about it. Again, like I said, is it perfect? Probably not, but this is not the end of the voting on what will happen in Moreno Valley. There'll be other elections, there'll be other appointments, and so we'll proceed forward. But I do like the plan. I do support it. And pretty much I say ditto to what Mr. Slauson said when he had his comments. I thought they were very comprehensive. And, like myself, he goes way back to the early days, and he saw a lot of what went on. And you know, it's funny. We had an 18-member committee. We met for a while. We were meeting weekly on Friday nights. It was the only time we could get together. And it seems like that's lost some history, you know, and it didn't get lost recently. It was lost like 10 minutes after it was done. It was like it never existed. I remember it wasn't even 6 years later. So we need a general plan. I'm thinking, what did we work on for 4 years? But, you know, they did another one, and now we have another one. So, but candidly, from what I've seen, I think it's one of the most comprehensive and has some very innovative ideas. And I think it's a good step forward, and I pray you will move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speakers.
Susan Zeitz, followed by David Zeitz and Roy Bleckard.
Vote no on agenda item F4. All of the general plan update documents, the general plan, climate action plan, the environmental impact report, all should not be considered for adoption by an incomplete city council after the death of council member Carla Thornton left 25% of our citizens unrepresented. A governing document of this magnitude should not be considered until every citizen in Moreno Valley is equally represented by a full-seated city council. So until District 2's city council seat is filled, no consideration or actions on the general plan should take place. District 2's residents, without support of city council representation, have been continually voicing their objections to no avail to the last-minute land use changes never seen or proposed before they appeared in the final draft documents. When they were released for public viewing, District 2's residents have also been requesting postponement to no avail of all further consideration of the general plan update until their new council member is elected. Only after District 2's council member is elected can they listen to the comments, presentations, and testimony firsthand, and an open, fair, transparent hearing is possible. Without District 2's council member in attendance to hear all of the presentations, public comments, public concerns, the discussions between staff, council, general plan update advisory committee, and the consultants hired for the general plan update, it's impossible to have that fair and transparent representation. And ensuring 100% of Moreno Valley's residents are equally represented in considering documents so important that our environment, our lives, our health literally hang in the balance. It requires and demands a fully seated city council. If the general plan update documents are heard tonight by council and the public comment period is opened and closed, reopening it will be almost impossible. The best ethical, unbiased way District 2 residents will get the same representation as the other 75% of the residents is for the 3 council members and Mayor Gutierrez not to accept the agenda F4 as presented and table the general plan update until item F4 to a date to be determined after District 2 City Council seat is filled and can fully participate in the process. If item F4 isn't tabled, it would be best for members not to approve any part of the general plan package, not allow the public comment period to close. There is no rush or deadline demanding these documents are adopted now. It's okay for the housing element update to be based on the current general plan with an explanation to the state, letting them know that while our general plan update is nearing completion, no further action will be taken until we have a full council representation, after which work will resume to complete our general plan update. And
Thank
when
you.
adopted, a revised
Thank you.
housing element.
Okay, next speaker, please.
David Seitz, Roy Bleckert, and Luis Palomares.
Good afternoon, City Council and Mayor. Tonight, I'm requesting that you either table or vote no on F4 until District 2 City Council person can represent us, giving us a complete representation for all of the citizens of the city. By having a fully seated council, District 2, by not having a fully seated District 2 lacks representation and has clearly endangered their districts, as clearly seen in the difference between zoning design to protect our area in the 2006 general plan update, which limited zoning in the northeast end and north of the 60 as office, which the documents proposed will be changed to off-highway commercial, which is not with keeping and protecting the rural nature of the area and does not represent the citizens as claimed by the city goals and the city draft comprehensive general plan update. That said, implementing these changes based on the feedback from the residents during the outreach programs. Zoning changes allowed to the warehouses, zoning changes or allowing warehouses up to 45 feet from houses was never requested by residents. Either was using the 60 on and off ramps at Merino Beach and the World Logistics Centers, which sandwich 125 half-acre homes between these two exits. The road to handle big rigs through the middle of their north side, to the middle of the north side of the freeway. Zoning changes provides permits, uses, including office, auxiliary commercial, including restaurants, retail, and service uses. The architectural style should be reinforced with the natural rural area surrounding it. 2 stories would never meet this. Vote no or table F4 until district council person for district council 2 can be elected and seated. And again, District 2 is not being represented very well because we did move forward, or it was moved up, and a lot of people won't be here until after this is done because they figured it was going to be later in the meeting. So you're not hearing from a lot of people that were going to be here.
Okay, Roy Bleckard.
If we wait for the perfect anything, we will do absolutely nothing. We're 5 years behind what we normally would do. A general plan every 10 years has been 15, and it was almost 19 after we did the first one. And we could make excuses for everything else, but if we stop or delay or not do anything, it would perpetuate the reputation of Moreno Valley as stopping things, not getting things done, making it difficult for development and good development, as Mr. Slauson and Mr. Gerald pointed out, business that sorely needs to be put in this community and has been since the inception of this city in 1984. And the aforementioned, and to deal with something that I've had on the docket personally since 1987, and former planning commissioner of Moreno Valley in 97, the aforementioned Mr. Slauson could probably tell you, politics and ego, when it gets in the way of this stuff, will stop everything. And I will tell you this, and you have the emails in there, and I hope it's the case. On my happy 3 acres, the triangle concrete plant on Cottonwood, hopefully at this point, according to Mr. Ormsby, with the general plan, I will be able to develop that into a mini storage complex with a conditional use permit. Hopefully that's the minimum. If we could upgrade that, that would be absolutely fantastic. But as as Commissioner Sims said, I wasn't happy with the development high density to my place, but the overall plan was good, so he voted for it. We need to move this forward. We need to pass it. Is it going to satisfy everybody? Is it exactly the plan I would pass? No, but we cannot stand on our heels, especially in this city, for the aforementioned reasons, because again, we could excuse this thing to death. We've done that far too long in Moreno Valley, and we have suffered as a community in doing that. So this is what this process is for. I'll give the input. We cannot lay it out exactly like we want. We've had the meetings. Everybody's had their opportunity over the last 3 or 4 years that this process has been going on to make their voices heard. Now it's up to the current council to make the final decision, and let's go one way or the other. Put your input in, make your case, do it. That's what this forum is for. That's what America is about. Let's get it done. Let's figure it out. Let's move forward. So overall, we can all benefit from this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Roy. Next speaker, please.
Luis Palomares, followed by Joe Locke. I can't understand his writing.
Someone with the name of Joe?
Joe Lockham.
Okay. Yeah, but we'll call you in a minute.
Luis Palomares, community activist. Wow, here we are again. They're large lot. Come on. Those are the only 6 that live out there. They want large lots. We need affordable housing. They're up here politicking. And they're using the Joker card saying, oh, we need representation in District 2. They don't care about the representation in District 2. That's a bunch of hogwash. We got them right here. Cabrera and Marcus. Their egos are flying high. They're the reputation. That's what they said at one of the last meetings. Their reputation, they're representing District 2. Come on. What is it? Then you got the angel over here doing his commercial, Wounded Warrior and all that. Well, that's great. I salute you. Thank you for your service. But boy, he's really up here campaigning. This is all a bunch of campaign mess. It's ridiculous. Let's get the city going, just like Roy said and Dave said and Tom Gerald said. Come on, how long are we going to be in Egypt? Just because these 6 people want their big lots, and then the girl, I felt her, the one that came up here and cried a little bit. Okay, I get it. Her father did this, and and he wanted to retire here. But things don't stay the same forever. It's not etched in stone. Like her father had his dream. Well, everybody from every surrounding county came out here 20, 30 years ago to buy their dream houses. And it's still going on. Now that the housing boom is up again, they want to come and buy their dream houses. Not everybody wants a 2-acre lot, a 3-acre lot. Not everybody, who could do that? Everybody's on a freeway all the time. Who could even take care of a yard that big? It's all about these horse people. Go to Norco. I mean, you like horse crap so much, go to Norco. And that's what you're giving us today, again, is a bunch of horse crap. It's ridiculous. How long? How long are we going to be in the middle of the desert? When they're building everything in Riverside, oh, that's fine. Anything over here, we can't have it. We got to go for another 40 years in a circle. We had 2 opportunities to have something here. But these people, the NIMBYs, blew that one too. They sued in the courts and, how long are they going to do this to us? It's our time is here. We're going to miss the boat for the 3rd time? We got to get this project going, up and running. And like I said, it's a bunch of campaign talk, these Vens and Lopez's and these other, I don't even want to even remember their names. But please, I hope you get this project going, and nothing's etched in stone, and it's not going to be perfect. As you go along, you tweak it, and you do, the staff did an excellent job. The planning commission did what they thought. One didn't. Oh wow! But every surrounding city.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you. is
next
building.
speaker.
Joe Larkin.
Make that 7 people that want to have their half-acre lot minimums.
Amen.
Yes. Good evening, council. Good evening,
evening.
everybody else here. My name is Joe Lockhart. I live spitting distance from where this proposed project is to be, literally across Oliver on the corner from what will be a mess. 31 years ago, August 1st, I moved here with the belief that I was going to be living in a half-acre community, like everybody else that bought in this area. And these houses are selling like hotcakes. We don't need this crap over there. Go across the street, across from Target, those projects, those houses, the sun won't even hit between them. There's these little places where you try to back out of your driveway. You got to wait for your neighbor to back out of their driveway or the garage so you can leave. I've been in many of those. I inspect houses, so I go to all kinds of places. Putting townhouses, I mean, how close are they going to be? It doesn't make any sense. You destroy a pearl of the city. This could be a sweet section of the city if people use their head. You can find a builder that's going to build custom high-end executive type homes on these lands. If you start putting smaller lots in, like they tried to do behind me, where they wanted to put the high school with the football field where I could see the lights across across Ironwood, and the other project where they wanted to put that so-called some kind of community right up there on the north side of Ironwood. That was a joke. That was all just to change the zoning so they could sell that piece of land to somebody with the highest bidder. We don't need this. Let's make this something nice, okay? We got people up here. We need one more. I mean, that's fair. You know what I mean? Even though the 2 gentlemen that I wrote emails to yesterday, I hope you read it, Pereira and Marquez. I hope you read it. I don't know if you did. It's hard to say, okay? All that's in that email that I sent you. You need to support us. We're the people. You're representing us, but we're not hearing that, okay? If we hear it, then okay, these people are representing us. Don't represent your own concepts, your own whatever you have in the back pocket. okay, or in the back of your head. This is our property. This is our community, right? And if you're against it, you don't live there. You shouldn't have half-acre minimums, period. So I say do something else. You find the right buyer, find the right builder. Instead of kowtowing to all these builders, you got some really nice areas in this city. Okay, real nice. In fact, I go all the time around the city doing stuff. One thing, I've been 31 years, like I said. Our street was glazed one time, and that was 25 years ago. Where's all my tax dollars going? Why isn't my community being kept up, right? Why is there chunks of asphalt on Ironwood? Why is there so much trash on Ironwood? I have it thrown in the backyard. I have to have it outside on the side streets, back where the water district tower is. It's not necessary. Let's build something nice. Okay, let's make it nice there. Let's make this the pearl of the city, and I think everybody will be happy. And I want my half-acre lot minimum. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
No more speakers, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and close the hearing. We'll go to council questions of staff. Maybe if we could also have the consultant maybe kind of come up here, just in case if the question goes either to staff or to you. And then just a friendly reminder, just press the request to speak button, and I'll go ahead and call on you. We'll do one round, and then we'll take a break after that, and then we'll do deliberation. So I'll start off with the first question. Approving, let's say, if the council was to approve this, I heard of, I think a couple speakers mentioned that, is this going to approve a specific project?
The simple answer to that is no.
Because it's a long-range planning tool. And my understanding, I think from what I heard you say, was that there will still be an opportunity for plot plans to be approved, for the developer to apply, go through the planning commission process, CUP, possibly an appeal that might go to council. So it's not the end. Is that kind of what you were referring to?
That's exactly right. So developments will still have to follow the standard procedure. They'll still have to do their own environmental review. They'll still have to go through all the development approval process.
Okay. My other question had to do with, if you can bring back that screen where it said it was like a cycle of different outreach. So I just had a question while you're looking for that. There were some speakers that mentioned that they weren't aware of the information. Was some of this information provided to them at some of the GPAC meetings or planning commission meetings or anything like that?
Yes.
Once you get to that screen.
I'm sorry.
No
It's,
worries.
it's advancing very slowly. But I'll pull it up in a second. I did go through the phasing of the project, and just to quickly recap, we did some initial outreach to understand the vision, and then we developed those concepts that spoke to the vision. There was more outreach to get community feedback on those concepts. There were 2 GPAC meetings to discuss those concepts. It went to the Planning Commission, and then a final concept came to the council last year in June. We actually did take on board your feedback and make some refinements to those concepts. That's where the bulk of the work occurred. Subsequently, in running the numbers for the housing element, we found that some additional land use changes were needed, and also, as I mentioned, for consistency with the ALUC area. And so there were some tweaks made to the land use map. Those were presented in the council packet at the beginning of December last year when you reviewed the housing element. And that was the timing for the change to the R10 area on the north side of the freeway at Merino Beach that some commenters have referred to. But all of the content was reviewed most of it at multiple public meetings, but all of it by that, I believe it was December 10th, the date.
And what's the minimum requirement that cities have as far as outreach?
So that the general plan guidelines do not stipulate a certain number of meetings or a certain amount of outreach. Guidelines that are produced by OPR encourage outreach, and they suggest different strategies that could be used. But there's no hard and fast rule for you have to have a certain number of meetings or so many people participate.
So compared in your professional opinion to other cities that you've done this type of work, I mean, how was our outreach?
So this is it involved quite a robust amount of outreach. I've definitely worked in communities that have done less outreach. 5 workshops, citywide workshops in a city of 200,000 people is quite a lot. I'm working currently in the city of Sacramento, which has a population of more than double Sacramento, more than double Moreno Valley, and they're doing fewer in-person workshops.
Interesting. And okay, I'll go ahead. Oh, actually, my last question is, and I've kind of been around here, but maybe just to educate the public as well. But my understanding is these, it's a long-range planning tool, so it's a guide that can be changed from time to time, and councils do change or make amendments to general plans. Is that correct?
That is correct. Under state law, a city can amend its general plan up to 4 times a year.
All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and defer my questions to my colleagues. And let's see. We have Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm.
March 16th, 2020. Wonder how many people remember that date? Bet you nobody does. That's when the state shut down. Now, stop and think about it. Never happened in my lifetime that I could remember my life. Just think of it. State closes down. What's on people's mind? Jobs? How are they going to support their families? Prevent their families from getting sick? You think that they're going to sit there and then worry about a general plan? Have you experienced that?
So I'm currently working on a number of general plans, and most of them had outreach going on during the COVID period or at some point last year. So on all of the projects that I'm working on, we had to pivot to a virtual format. What I would say is that in many communities, we actually found a higher attendance because it was easier for people to just sit in their living room or join via phone. So there's nothing that can replace an in-person meeting, the interaction you get between people. But in a lot of communities, the participation was, in terms of pure numbers, higher during the COVID period.
So what you're saying is, and what I understand you're saying is this, that even though all these events happened, people were still interested in keeping up what was going on.
That's
general
my
plan?
experience, yes.
Oh, wow. What about this gateway? You made a comment about, I think, believe in the planning commission, you made a comment about educational. Can you kind of explain that in detail, please?
Yes, sure, I'd be happy to. I'm going to pull up the land use map so that we can all see the area that we're speaking about here. Just bear with me a sec. There we are. So the area that we're talking about is shown in pink, north of Highway 60, on the east side of town. And that is a concept area that was developed with community input through that series of workshops and ultimately presented to the city council in June of last year. At the time that we presented that to the council, it was for a vision that was similar to what was in the Highway 60 corridor plan for a commercial complex up there, kind of a shopping center. But several members of the council, including the mayor suggested maybe we should think about another option. Perhaps an educational campus might be up there. There were concerns that commercial at that location might compete with what we're trying to do in the downtown center or the redevelopment of the Moreno Valley Mall. There was a discussion of perhaps allowing for a wider mix of uses, but Councilmember Thornton said that she didn't want that, and that she wanted us to look for a more specific use. And so when we thought about the issues, we took on board that feedback. And so ultimately, what's in the draft plan that was out there for public review is, and I'm going to read the definition so that everyone understands specifically what's called for up there. It's called a highway office commercial designation, and this designation provides for a distinctive employment or educational campus at the eastern gateway to the city. Primary permitted uses include office, educational, and research and development facilities organized in a clustered development pattern with intervening areas of landscaped open space. Auxiliary commercial uses, including restaurant, retail, and service uses, are also permitted. The architectural style of development should reinforce the rural character intended for the surrounding area. The maximum permitted floor area ratio in this designation is 0.4. On smaller parcels, additional FAR may be permitted to achieve the desired vision for the area. So that, I think, is quite clear about the desire primarily for an educational or employment campus supported by some additional commercial restaurant uses. And then it's the zoning that has been developed for that gets into the more specifics of building height and setbacks and that kind of thing.
Does, I gotta fly here. Anyways, do you think by changing the zoning in that area, in that particular area, will enhance anything that's built there?
What I would say, just by way of context, having talked about this extensively with our economic consultant that did the market study to look about what's feasible, that their opinion is that that site is a rather difficult site to develop, and that if we wanted to really encourage the kind of vibrant mixed-use places, because of the way the retail landscape is changing throughout the country, there's less demand for retail as people do more and more online shopping, that our best bet would be to try and concentrate those commercial uses into the downtown center in Moreno Valley. And so the designation was written based on feedback we got from the council and in response to anticipated market conditions. And so overall, the best use for that area is anticipated to be in our the best chance for development there is anticipated to be an educational and employment campus. And with the specificity that's in the general plan about being sensitive to context and respecting the agricultural character of the area, I believe that changing the zoning to try and implement that vision would be helpful.
You don't think the, excuse me, you don't think the sanitation dump area out there would have an effect on anything being built there?
It's not right adjacent to it. It's sort of up in the hills, and there is also, the roadway that they use is relatively far removed. The trucks wouldn't be passing through that area, so I think it could be separated.
Okay. That's all I have right now, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll have, let me go back here. Okay, any other council members? Okay, we have a council member Cabrera for questions.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation. I appreciate it. A couple of questions have already been answered that I planned on asking. One of them was actually in regards to what type of uses would be allowed, assuming that this general plan update as proposed is passed tonight, specifically for that corridor off of the freeway. So thank you for answering that. Also, I guess another question, if you could go into a little bit more detail, please, is, and this might be for staff, or you can probably answer it as well. I know you're well versed in all this. The planning process. Again, assuming this passes tonight, there's no plot plans, there's nothing in this that's approving a building or anything like that. It all has to do with zoning and economic development and other things. So can you just elaborate a little bit more on the planning process? Assuming these properties are rezoned to a higher density or commercial, what it would look like in the future if someone wanted to come and build a neighborhood or a shopping center or something. Could you expand a little bit on that?
Sure. I'm actually going to let Patty take that question because that's what she does on a daily basis, and she's very familiar with the city's planning process.
Certainly. All projects require some type of plot plan approval for a new building. A few minor projects can go as a minor plot plan. Most projects will require a major plot plan that requires planning commission approval. Anything that required a tentative map would need to go to planning commission as well, and final maps go to city council. So the majority of projects will definitely go to planning commission for further review and approval.
Thank you. And it's also my understanding, just correct me here if I'm wrong, but you mentioned, minor and major plans, basically. Some have to go to planning commission. Those are the more major ones. The minor ones, it could be ministerial approval, right? Approval at the staff level. But both of those, regardless of what the project, the actual proposal is, those can be appealed by the city council, whether that's at the staff level or the planning commission level. Those can be appealed by the city council up to this body. Is that correct?
Any project can be appealed by the city council and also by anybody else who would be interested in filing the appeal.
Thank you so much. And let me see here. I might have one other question. For either of you, whoever wants to take this one as well. We did take a look at the map, and it's actually up there on the screen, which is helpful.
Phone, please. Okay, thank you.
And I've been getting a lot of questions about, what properties are being rezoned as part of the general plan update. So can you just clarify once again, within this entire proposal, the general plan update on this map, what properties are being rezoned? Because I think there's a lot of confusion or misunderstanding out there, and I'm hearing some things from people that we're changing zoning throughout the entire city and here and there. But can you just explain a little bit more about what's being rezoned?
Sure, that's really the purpose of this map. It's showing that, as I said in the presentation, um, the proposed general plan land use map really makes only targeted changes to the current adopted general plan land use map, and those are primarily concentrated in the concept areas that were the focus of community outreach and community input that were discussed at GPAC meetings, reviewed with the Planning Commission and with yourselves. And they were, analyzed in the EIR. Outside of those areas, as I mentioned, there's also some minor changes in the Edgemont area to reduce the density that is within the airport crash zone, right? It's for safety purposes as stipulated by the airport land use plan. Otherwise otherwise the zoning and the land use in the city is not changing from its current condition.
Thank you. Yeah. So my understanding, thank you for elaborating, is basically what's colored there is what's being proposed for some type of change of zoning. And then you mentioned the area that's within, what is it, ALUC, I believe is the abbreviation. It's that area right on the left of that map. You can see a little bit of purple on the map, and you can see kind of a line, a bluish line going kind of down the side of Moreno Valley. So that's because of the base, right? That's within that area. The city can only build so dense, right? So that's where those changes had to be made, because we can't have very high dense residential projects within there because of the potential crashes with aircraft and things like that.
Right.
So I think that answers all my questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If there's, we'll go ahead and we'll end the questions. No questions from Mayor Pro Tem, and we'll go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back for deliberation. Okay. Welcome back to the regular city council meeting on June 15, 2021. We just listened to, we're on item F4. We've listened to the staff report, opened the hearing, public testimony. We also did council questions of staff and the consultant. And now it's time for the deliberation part. So at this point, I'll go ahead and open it to deliberation. We'll just do one round, and then after that, I'll close the deliberation, and then I'll entertain a motion. Okay, we have deliberation from Mayor Pro Tem Baca, and if you do choose to deliberate, if you could just press your speaker button. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Baca.
Thank you, Mayor. We're elected to make these hard, difficult decisions, and we can't be swayed because someone doesn't want, smaller lots, or because someone doesn't want higher density. They don't want traffic. There's a lot going on, and you have open spaces that don't really belong to you, but yet you want the owners not to build. You don't want this, you don't want that. And I understand that. But the fact of the matter is that that land belongs to, private individuals, and it's been taken into consideration by staff and the council back in June that a lot of things are going to change in Moreno Valley. Moreno Valley is growing. When I moved out here in 1990, we didn't have, what do we have today? We didn't have all the restaurants we have. We didn't have City Hall. We were meeting down on Cottonwood and Frederick. We didn't have a lot of what we have. And the reason that we've grown so much is because we have progressive members of the city council who have voted to bring in revenue for the city so that we can pay for our police and fire. That's the way the city works. And that's our job, is to spend your tax dollars in a very responsible manner. And that's what we're doing. And, I would like to grant everyone's wishes, but that's not possible. First of all, something that's very important and that I strive to keep is local control. As a city council, we need to adopt the general plan update and not let the state come in and do their density, because we're saying R10. They could come in and say R20 or R40 or R50. They can do that. And we don't, we're doing the best that we can with what we have and looking out to the future. Not everybody and not many people want big lots nowadays. Like one of the speakers said, you have both adults working, the mom and dad working, and they don't have time or don't desire larger lots. But you want us to deny people that can afford lesser than you have affordable housing. You want us to deny them the right to live in Northeast Moreno Valley. You're saying no, not in my backyard. That's what you're saying. That's what I'm hearing. And we can't do that. We need to look at everything, but especially housing. And that's one of the things that I'm very concerned with, because nowadays, who can afford a house, really? You're fresh out of college and get a job. The property is so expensive, and those larger lots are beyond a lot of people's reach. And it's not sustainable anymore. We need the housing. We heard some people talking about the government shutdown, and we shouldn't vote for this because we were doing things virtually. Well, that was the governor's orders, and most of the United States went to virtual meetings, and that was allowable. We couldn't just stop and not do anything and sit on our laurels and not, work. We had to continue, and we found a mechanism that included everybody. Everybody had the opportunity to participate. I went to the in-face meeting that was held at the Towngate Community Center in District 1. It was live, but shortly after that, that's when things changed. And we don't know how the previous District 2 representative would have voted, and we don't know how the future District 2 will vote. You're saying wait until they're elected because you think that your person that you're supporting is going to win and will be a negative vote. That's what you want. And we can't do that. We can't stop. We have to continue working, whether it's virtually or not. But the general plan update has been worked on for many, many months, and there has been a lot of opportunities. I know that because I've seen who's participated in the GPAC meetings and the other meetings. And, I don't know that anybody was denied an opportunity. I think that's what I wanted to say, and I think that the agency, Batia, did a good job in developing the general plan update, and I really like how they did the community outreach. It was done very well, and like Mr. Bleckert said, if we stop because you want us to stop, then the next group is going to want us to stop, and we'll never get anything done if we keep listening to people that don't want people in apartments or townhomes or condos living near them. I mean, that's very unfair because I think everybody has opportunity or should have opportunity. If they want to move to Northeast Moreno Valley, they should have affordable housing. And a lot of people think that affordable housing means low income. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It's affordable housing, something that I can afford. What if I want to move to Northeast Moreno Valley? I should be able to enjoy that area as well, just like anybody else. But you don't want us there. And I remember going to the meetings that were held for the World Logistics Center, and you had them at the high schools. And I remember one of the slides said, these types of jobs attract minorities. And I'm like, my God, how bold of them to put that up there. But now I'm hearing it now. I'm hearing it again. And that's what they're saying is that you don't want people to live there that can't afford a big lot. That's what I'm hearing. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any other council members would like to make their deliberation? Oh, okay. No, it didn't pop up, but okay. Councilmember Marquez?
Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm.
Staff, how much did this cost, this general plan update, cost-wise? How much did it cost the city?
In just consultant contracts, about 1.5 million. That doesn't count the staff time.
1.5, did you say, Pat? And how many hours do you think our staff worked on this? And I'm not going to hold you to it, but somebody else can answer it if they know. Just the
Hundreds of hours.
Hundreds of hours.
We had a dedicated senior planner. We had additional planners. I worked on it. All of our directors worked on it and their staff as well, our city manager's office. Everyone in the city participated in it.
So I want to thank everybody who did participate, staff. I want to thank you very much from my heart. Thank you. Thank you. So staff, I'm not going to talk about the consulting because they got paid for that. So, I'm not going to talk about them. But I want to talk about our city staff that contribute all this time to try to make something for the community to enjoy, to grow. They did a good job. I think they did. Just by looking at this, I think they did. But like one of the speakers says, nothing's perfect. And it isn't perfect. Housing element. We talk about mandated dates that the state, and someone mentioned local control. That's the most important thing that a city wants to control within the state. Self-control. You lose it, you might as well kiss everything else goodbye. when it comes to the housing element, what we're talking about, and we're talking about rezoning, we're talking about acre lots, we're talking about all kinds of things. 2-story where the home is so close to each other, you probably can hear the neighbor flush his toilet next door, because I've heard that before from Beaver Homes owners, and that's in my district. They didn't know that it was going to happen, but they got stuck behind that house. So there's a lot of things, but the forecast for Moreno Valley through the year of 2029, 13,000 homes, 13,500 homes needs to be built, projected. And it's not set by the state, it's just projected. And if we don't meet them again, we lose that local control. But my concern is this. We have a lot of open land out here. And like Mayor Pro Tem did say, the land out there don't belong to us. It belongs to people that own the land. I understand that. And if they want to build something on it, that's fine. But who has to approve of that? Us or individuals that are going to be sitting up here. But the bottom line is this. Developers want to come in here. They own land out here, or they buy land or whatever. They want to come out here and make a quick buck. And I've seen that. I've lived here for over 40 years, and I've seen them do it. They can care less. They just want to come in here because they know that our hands are tied. And they'll come in here and build houses over houses like they have Beaver Homes. That's not what we want. That's not what I want. I want to keep local control. So let's talk about northeast side of town. Like one of the commissioners had mentioned, well, maybe somebody wants to buy land out there, or a developer wants to develop land out there, and he wants a small yard. Well, there's plenty of other open spaces out here that could be developed for that. You're not going to get a developer to build a 1,000 square foot home out there with a 2-acre lot. That's not going to happen. But, it's affordable housing. The home itself is affordable housing. Except for the property, they're going to pay an arm and a leg for it. So you're not going to get people or families or whoever to go out and want to live out there. They cannot afford it. But what we really need out here in the northeast side of town is executive homes, like one of the speakers spoke about. We have a company here that makes automobiles. We all know who that is on the south side of town. And one of their I guess, executives had mentioned years ago when they moved here, well, you guys don't have executive homes. So our executive team had to move to Orange County. Yeah, they moved to Orange County because they couldn't find no executive properties here. That would be an ideal place to build those type of homes. I remember when I moved here 40 years ago, when people talked about Sunny Mead Ranch, high-end properties up there. Everybody wanted to move Sunny Mead Ranch, because there was nice homes out there. And there still are a lot of nice homes. You don't have the acres out there. You can't spread your wings out there. And I don't knock the people, or I'm not saying, you want to dictate where you want people to move to. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this. If there's a piece of property out there and a developer is going to come in and he sees that there's demand for executive homes, they're going to build executive homes out there. And you're talking about Moreno Valley, a model city. We will be a model city, but it's not going to happen if you start building small acres out there. And that's the whole bottom line that I look at. We need that type of housing here, executive home housing. It might not be 2 acres, it could be acre and a half, but we need that, and we can't lose that. But when you start building commercial buildings in that area, and I've seen it here, it's going to continue on where developers going to come and say, well, you zone this for this area, and I'm going to build a warehouse there. Look at what happened in Heacock and Hemlock. Right in the middle of neighborhoods, warehouses got built. Could that happen in the Northeast? Sure can. Why? Because the individual stakeholders that were part of the advisory committee own majority of the property on the Northeast side. We have a warehouse person and a built home person who builds homes. You don't think they have influence here in the city? If you don't think so, then I don't know where you've been. But that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. In this report that I've seen, these maps, we've had, there's Moreno Valley Trade Center. Hasn't even been brought to anybody yet, other than the general plan. But we have it in here as a warehouse. It hasn't been presented, but it's in here. You know what that area is zoned for right now? R5, R3 homes. You put a lot of homes in that property out there. But we already have it down here as a warehouse now. And that's what I'm afraid what's going to happen. If we're mandated, why are we turning these properties, our properties, into commercial or warehousing? And that's what I don't understand here with this general plan. The rest of it's fine. I have no problem with it. Climate control, EIR. We've had experts look at it, and we've had a lot of residents comment on it. I have no problem with those. But this is a package deal. Just like our slate, you vote on the whole thing. You can't separate it. Now, if we were to come back and say, maybe we could go ahead and revisit this housing element thing, then that's fine. But I just don't trust. Not saying staff, I just don't trust. And I'll be honest, and they can be hearing, listening to me. I don't trust developers. Especially the two that were on this committee, on this advisory committee. Don't live here, but they have plenty of influence here. Plenty of influence. And I just don't trust them. Now we talk about employment. It says here that we want to create now projected build out of this plan, 22,000 new homes and 39,000 new jobs. But over here it says California State of California projects 13,500 jobs. So we're not on the same page with what we have to, what the housing element is. I don't think the state will come in here and penalize us if we don't have this element thing down in place. We have until, when do we have to the end? Mike Wolf, what's the date, the deadline for meeting that mandate?
October. It's on October, sir.
October? We come back in August. I think we have time to discuss housing elements and stuff like that here. City's not going to close down. We might, because I'm going on vacation. That's me. I'm going on vacation. City's not gonna close. We're gonna continue, our doors are gonna continue staying open. And we have business coming in here applying for permits. We're not gonna shut down. What's the rush? Waited 16 years. Actually, we extended that 6 years. It should have been 10. There's no rush here. We could tackle this when we come back from vacation. That's me. I don't know what my colleagues think of it, but that's me. We're not in a rush. We're not gonna have somebody come in here and want to develop in the northeast of town within the next month or so, 2 months, because nothing's been projected for that. But it's projected here. Shouldn't be in a rush. The decision we make today is going to affect this city for the next 20 years. And yes, I hear the consultant says, it's not in concrete. If it ain't, the old saying, if it ain't in writing, it was never said. I just don't believe we should rush into this. I think we should go back to the drawing board and tackle this housing element again. Again, the rest of it's fine. No problem with the EIR or climate action, because we're all in the same boat on that. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other, okay, Councilmember Cabrera?
Thank you. So first, I want to thank our staff, first and foremost. I won't reiterate too much of what has already been said, but I know that for over a year, maybe about a year and a half or so, we've been working on this general plan update. We were talking about doing the general plan update for at least a year before that, having the conversations about putting this together, because we're now 15 years basically past due on updating our general plan. I should say 5 years, but 15 years since the last time that we actually updated it. So I just want to thank the staff for putting in a tremendous amount of time. And, for anyone out there who, works in government or maybe in the education system, or you have a company or you work for a company, I think that it's something that we definitely need to recognize and congratulate you all in particular for being our staff and putting in that hard work and that labor and the late nights, coming to the meetings, putting together all the community engagement opportunities, and doing the best that you could, taking into account the totality of circumstances, right? None of us foresaw the pandemic being a reality. None of us could have even fathomed this being an issue. And I think that we had already planned to do, to go above and beyond in terms of community engagement, having the public meetings. I still remember when we had the one for my district. We had one scheduled for each council district. The one in my district, it happened the week of, when the pandemic first started happening. And we did a lot of outreach, try to get people out there, and there was just so much fear in the air that, unfortunately, for that particular meeting, we weren't not able to get that many people, even though some folks did show up. So I understand those concerns, because I also share those concerns, right? I'm really big when it comes to community engagement, making sure that the public gives your input, because that's the way it should be, right? At the same time, there's a reason why we get elected, right, to represent our respective districts. And another thing too, an unforeseen event was the unfortunate untimely passing of Dr. Carla J. Thornton. None of us saw that coming, and that's something that we also had to adjust to. But I will say that she was part of the process throughout almost the entire process. Just the past couple months, she hasn't been with us, but almost the entire process of the general plan update, she was with us here on the council, giving her input, meeting with staff. She even, I believe she had a virtual meeting for District 2 specifically for the general plan. And then she had a town hall as well. I remember that. So I can't speak for District 2. My loyalty is first and foremost for my district, for District 4, and my 50,000 constituents that I represent. The 50,000 residents of District 4 who voted and elected me to represent them. And so um while I understand the concerns, and we were talking a lot about, we're really focusing in on the land use part of this general plan update. But I think it's important that we don't forget that there's at least 10 elements or 11 different parts to this general plan update. One of them is the zoning, right? Changing of zoning, land use. But I think we also need to talk about everything else, right? The economic development aspect of it, the parks and trails and the outdoors. Talking about the circulation element, we cannot forget about those things because they're very important. And I actually do want to talk a little bit about the economic development uh, element of the general plan update. And there's a lot of information in there. And I do also want to thank Diat and Bacha, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, because you guys did, in my opinion, a very good job, right? A very, very good job with this general plan update. It's extensive. There's a ton of recommendations, right? Recommendations and then action items that you're basically giving to us and saying, hey, look, these are some things that you can implement, some innovative ideas, some policy changes, some new programs that you can implement in your city to bring in, to usher in this new era of the world that we're about to move into. Just today the state reopened, right? Like everything is about to change, and we need to be prepared for that change. We need to be ready to bring in these higher quality employers, higher quality companies, higher quality home builders. I'm sure you've seen there's a huge demand for construction of new homes because of the housing crisis, right? We talk about the housing element. That's another part of this, where there's not enough housing in the state of California for various reasons. One of them being, red tape. Another part being NIMBYism. There's various factors for why we find ourselves in a major housing shortage. And I say that because we need to build more housing, period. First and foremost, low income, moderate income, affordable housing, and then we go up the list. But when, I'm also a small business owner, when the government puts roadblocks and barriers and more red tape and causes delays for things, especially like housing, that's not a good thing for the people of California. That means less housing. That means housing further into the future instead of now. We need these things now. We need to, we've seen all of these companies with this so-called exodus, which I think is overblown, but it's still a reality of companies and residents moving out of the state, going to Austin, going to Arizona, going to Nevada, going to Florida. And we can do something about that here at our city level to bring those companies and those people here, to stop them from leaving the state. We can do certain things to incentivize them to come here to Moreno Valley. I'm tired of reading headlines and seeing news articles about such and such tech companies moving to some other state outside of California. Those are six-figure salary jobs. Those are career ladder jobs. Those are jobs that we can have here in Moreno Valley. But we keep doing things that basically sends the message that go somewhere else because we don't want you here. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of that. We cannot have that anymore. And so I think that while I'm trying to acknowledge and I respect a lot of the concerns that have been brought up, in particular from District 2, in the northeast corner of our city, I think that, again, the totality of circumstances, we need to acknowledge that all of the good that's in this general plan update outweighs the negative parts, any consequences. And the more time that passes by that we don't have our downtown ready, that we don't have the mall ready, that we don't have all these things ready to bring in these companies, bring in these higher education institutions, we're losing out on all that. We're letting them just drive right by our freeway and go out of state. I'm not going to stand for that anymore. And I really like the proposals in this general plan update, again, with the mall, redeveloping that, adding more entertainment, more opportunities for our public to work and play and enjoy their families here in our city. We've all seen what's happening with malls all across the country. I don't want Amazon to come by our mall. I want us to redevelop that mall and bring in other high quality tenants so we can enjoy the mall. I don't want Amazon moving in here and putting a warehouse in there. That's what they're doing in a lot of malls across the country. I don't want that to happen here. I want us to be ready to bring in a Topgolf or whoever else wants to come here and open at our mall or at our downtown. I want us to be ready if there's a tech company or a biomedical company that wants to relocate to the Inland Empire, that they can come to our downtown, that they can come here to Moreno Valley. And so I again, I'm just, I'm trying to respect the concerns, but at the same time, I don't want to put our city at a competitive disadvantage, and we need to move forward with this. I will also say that with that particular area in the northeast end, with the R10 zoning, that's townhomes. Essentially, that's townhomes. But again, there's a development process. We're not approving any buildings. We're not approving any houses. That if someone wants to propose that, they have to bring that back to the city, submit plans. And I personally don't like the idea of townhomes up in that area. But that's something that we're going to have to talk about when the day comes. When someone submits those plans, we're going to have to talk about that and make sure that that neighborhood, that area of the city gets what you want. And so I think that we definitely need to keep all these things in mind, prepare ourselves for everything that's coming. Moreno Valley College in the fall, they're getting ready to open their Innovation Center with 3D printing, with laser cutting, with cybersecurity, and we need to really bridge the opportunities that we have created over the past year or two with training our labor force, upskilling, and providing those opportunities for our residents. But now we need to bring in those companies. We need to bring in those employers here, put that together, create those new opportunities, open new doors for our residents here so that when they get their certificates and their degrees at Moreno Valley College, they're not leaving to San Francisco and somewhere else. Let's bring those companies here. So there's a lot that we are going to do. There's a lot that we can do. Again, I really love all of the ideas that are implemented and specified in the general plan update. There's a lot of work to do, assuming that this passes tonight. And I'm going to be right there with our team, with our staff, meeting with you. I email you on the weekends, and I know you hate it, but there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do. And I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Cabrera. Just like Councilmember Cabrera had mentioned, we've I think been at this for actually a few years, really, discussing this general plan update. I do recall in 2016, I believe it was a little bit before November, we approved a strategic plan, which was called the Momentum MoVal. And in that strategic plan, we also discussed some of the items listed in here as well, like, for example, the town center and those kinds of things. So this has been in discussion. We've been discussing this for many, many, many years. And in fact, we know that every 10 years, there is a general plan update usually. So we are behind, in conducting that general plan. It's also important to consider, and I think some of my colleagues mentioned it here as well, that if this passes, we're not approving a specific project, an apartment, a specific developer with an apartment complex. None of that is actually happening here tonight. This is just a guidebook. It's a long-range planning tool that the city uses. And anytime developers come in, applicants or anything like that, they have to follow the process. They have to follow the process, which means, submitting that CUP application, talking with staff. They have numerous meetings. The developer meets with the staff numerous times to fine tune and make sure that they're meeting all of the guidelines that we're asking them in the conditions. And then it goes to Planning Commission. And then from there, there's public input and participation and those kinds of things. And then if it gets appealed, it would be appealed to the city council. So there's a lot of other opportunities. And we're not stopping any of that. We're not stopping any of that tonight. There will still be those opportunities where the individual plot plans for the major projects will still have to go through the regular process. I do want to point that out. What's very critical is that October deadline. And like one of my colleagues mentioned, local control is very important. And it's very important to me as well, because if we don't do something, the state could come in and say, you know what, maybe it's not an R10, maybe it's an R20, maybe it's something else. So it's really important that, we take this into account. And, this plan puts us in compliance, actually, puts us in compliance on numerous different things, from the safety element to our climate action plan. Also, it's very consistent with the ALUC. Uh, and ALUC stands for Airport Land Use Commission. And the reason why that's very important is because what that organization does is they're trying to really look to make sure that we're consistent with the base and the base's mission, the air base. And the reason why that's important is because if we're not, there could be concerns that maybe there could be a BRAC where maybe the airbase could close down, and so we have to really be consistent with that plan as well. And this meets that plan as well. So I think, there's a lot of reasons why the consultant mentioned why this is very important. Legally, statewide, law, obviously, various other agencies, have regulations. Also, the concerns, that ALUC has as well. And, we want to be consistent with their land use as well. That's very, very important. But then again, like I said, it's a roadmap. It's a vision. It's, like I mentioned, a long range planning tool. And it serves a dual purpose because applicants or developers or business opportunities will be able to see, oh, look, this is a city that's very innovative, that's thinking outside the box. Let's approach the city and let's try to maybe do this business. Again, granted, they still have to go through the entire process. They still have to go through the entire process of applying, meeting with staff, planning commission, and city council. I will just leave it at that, and I will entertain a motion. I will close deliberation and entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations numbers 1 through 3. A motion made by Councilmember Cabrera,
I'll second.
second made by Mayor Pro Tem Baca. Okay, and the item passes 3 yes, 1 no. We will take a 5-minute break and we'll reconvene. Welcome back to the regular city council meeting on June 15, 2021. We just finished passing item F4. We'll go ahead and go straight to public comments on the agenda and also on not on the agenda. And we'll go ahead and start having the three speakers come up at a time. And we'll go ahead and do 2 minutes each speaker. And I'll defer to the city clerk.
Yes, can I have Wayne Woodruff, Marquita Clay, and Tom Thornsley?
Good evening. My name is Marquita Clay, as mentioned, and I'm a recent graduate from California Baptist University and a mentee of the late Dr. Carla Thornton. I am here as a public member to represent the Public Safety Committee, and we're just gonna, myself and Mr. Woodliff, we're gonna talk about it a little bit. So, over the past 5 months, the Public Safety Committee has had the opportunity to virtually engage with each member of the committee as well as public service officials, and additional community resources. The committee has met with the Chief of Police, John Salisbury, Fire Chief Abdul Ahmad, which he's not here, Parks and Recs Service Director Patty Solano, and Deputy City Manager of Economic Workforce Development Jackie Melendez. Each of the city officials mentioned have conducted an in-depth presentation to provide the committee members with information regarding the services they provide for the city. For example, the police department has a behavioral health patrol unit, which is the CBAT, and they assist the behavioral health specialists, they assist the police officers when they go out into the community with a thorough safety assessment, which is for the citizens as well as the officers. The fire department is the center of emergency operations and in the past year has responded to over 20,958 calls for service. Park and Rec Service Assistant, they service law enforcement with patrolling the city parks and open places. As the city begins, I apologize, Jackie Melendez with Workforce Development, and we know the opening of the Burke. And as the city begins to open, myself and the committee members look forward to engaging with the community and other officials. And I'm now going to pass it to Mr. Wayne Woodliff as he's going to discuss more what we look forward coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Wayne Woodliff. I'm a business member of the Public Safety Committee. The members of the Public Safety Committee are excited that we as a community are moving towards a normal environment. Through the last 5 months, we've been indoctrinated with the internal mechanics of the police, fire, park and rec, and city departments, which has given us invaluable insights. Now we are ready and able to begin interacting with our individual communities, business, nonprofit, citizens, so we can start bringing dialogue of concerns back to the Public Safety Committee for discussion. As the Public Safety Committee feels the concerns warrant the attention of the City Council, we look forward to working in an advocacy role for the community and for the city. I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I know we'll have more than likely a report as well. I know you guys are doing great work. Maybe later on in the year as well. Maybe that could be a possibility. So, okay. Well, thank you, and thank you so much for serving and being a member of this important committee. Thank you. Mhm. Okay. Next three speakers.
Tom Thornsley, Angel Lopez Ramirez, and Lindsay Robinson.
Good evening again, council members. My original.
One second. Let's fix the time really quick here.
Didn't take it. Sorry. I'll try it again.
Okay.
Oh, it's a 2 minute? Okay, anyway. I do have to express my disappointment. There was a lot of stuff in the general plan that really should have been addressed. And you got a lot of letters that indicate problems that really should have been addressed and fixed. And you had the time to do that. What I want to speak on is your item A13. It's the appointments of persons to the various boards and commissions. I watched what would happen at the last meeting, and I was kind of appalled that all the people and all the commissions were put on one slate to be brought forward. That's really not good business practice of any kind. And you saw what happened. You didn't get anybody approved, and now you've had to come back with one of the groups taken off. I've also worked in a few other cities where they've had this stuff. And whenever there's people put on the boards, their resume packets come forward from based on what the mayor has recommended, so that the other council members, which as the mayor has the authority to choose who gets to be put forward, the other council members get to help decide whether that's good or bad choice. If they don't have the kind of information that the mayor has, then they're blind on making a choice. And I don't know who these people are on here. I doubt most of you do, unless they're friends of yours that have been appointed to this, as opposed to just general people at large. And most of the time I've seen it when it has to do with planning commissioners or with trails committee members, because those are the things I worked a lot in my career. And it's interesting to see the people and see what's there. And you want to try to understand how decisions get made. So I really wish you guys would go back to the way you used to do it like that, because what you're doing right now to me is just so unfair to the public and to you yourselves as people who are going to vote on these persons on this list. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lopez, followed by Lindsay Robinson and Martin Cabrera Jr.
Hello again, Mayor, members of the City Council, members of the staff, and the public. Again, Angel Lopez Ramirez, and thank you for the opportunity to come back and speak on non-agenda items. Today is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Federal agencies, municipalities, and states are taking on a challenge to avoid the abuse, the exploitation, and the neglect of elders in our communities. And more recently, with financial exploitation, for example, elders in our communities receiving telephone calls from scammers pretending to be agents of agencies like the federal government, requesting Social Security information, and being threatened with fines and incarceration. And our campaign is bringing awareness to the community so we can avoid those in Moreno Valley from being exploited by these abuses. And I certainly welcome everybody to be involved, be engaged. Many have family members who are elders who are vulnerable to scammers. And our advice is if you receive a call from a scammer for financial exploitation, hang up, call a family member, or call the agency yourself and confirm that you are being called for a reason, because many elders are being abused in this way, being taken financial advantage of and providing money that where it doesn't need to go to scammers. So I just wanted to bring that awareness to the community. Again, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Lindsay Robinson, Martin Cabrera Jr., and Carrie Then.
Good evening. I'm also speaking on the appointments to the boards, commissions, et cetera. The process was explained at the last council meeting that our applications go to the clerk, to various departments, and then to the mayor. And along the way, those who are unfit or unqualified are removed from contention. I asked for a face-to-face meeting with the mayor and the clerk, and that was denied. But I am curious why so many people have not been reappointed or appointment. And it's a huge segment of the population that want to serve, but we're denied the opportunity. I do have a remedy for that, in that I'm asking that if the mayor chooses to not appoint qualified residents, and there are openings and no quorums, which we've had for the last couple of years, that the other council members have the opportunity to make appointments to fill the seats, especially in the groups that they're the liaisons for. Your ethics says you're supposed to be impartial and do not favor those who have either helped you or in a position to help you, and to promote equality and treat all people equitably. The GPU asks people to serve, and they want to know how to engage more residents. Well, if the mayor it discriminates against a whole lot of the population for whatever reason and won't reappoint or appoint people that have served admirably in the past, then we've got a problem. And the remedy is let the other council people fill the seats of qualified applicants. Thank you.
Martin Cabrera Jr., Carrie Thin, and Robert Thin.
Good evening, City of Moreno Valley. It's been a long time since I've been in here. It's been maybe about 3 years. I've been in Texas. Maybe some of you are wondering where I've been. Mr. Tom, maybe. I don't know. But I want you all to walk with me as I speak and listen to what I have to say for the vision of Moreno Valley, the vision of the future of Moreno Valley. Because it's funny, my name is Martin as well, but I have a dream for the vision of Moreno Valley here in this city. And that has to do with building, like literally, I had a dream. The Disneyland of medical centers here in Moreno Valley. Nobody is talking about this. If there's anything that we learned from COVID, it's that we don't have enough supply for the amount of sick people that we have, that we're not taking care of ourselves. We're not eating right. And so I want to bring, I can't do this alone. I need help. Maybe some investors want to partner up with me, or maybe this is turning on a light bulb on your guys' head that you guys connect me with somebody, or maybe the staff members come talk to me afterwards. But a vision and a dream for Moreno Valley that has a huge medical center here to help out the people that need help, to bring more doctors to the city, more practitioners, more nurses to the city. That means higher quality jobs. We don't need these set mindset jobs, warehouse jobs here in the city. I used to work at Amazon. I spoke with these other coworkers. All they talked about was what they're going to do after they're off, what they're going to do in the weekend, what they're going to go drink, what drugs they're going to do. I was sitting there and I was talking to them about that. None of them were talking about, "Oh, what's the next step from here on out?" I know a medical center will do that. Look up the broken window effect. The medical center will help the homeless in this area. Thank you. Have a very good night.
Thank you, Martin.
Carrie Thin, Robert Thin, and Susan Seitz.
Hello again, City Council members. I had some prepared remarks, but I think I'm going to address two things that happened tonight during the public hearing. The first was the attack by the Mayor Pro Tem on the residents of District 2. It was very concerning to me. My mother was born Mary Ann Rivas. My grandfather's name is Leo Rivas. My great-grandmother's name is Esparza, and she was born in Mexico. So when I heard her attack the residents of District 2, particularly the ones that live in my area, it's because she judges people and the book by its cover. That is very rude. And it is part and parcel of the problem we face in this city, that when we have disagreements on policy, somehow it turns into a personal attack. And then I'm going to move on to the second comment. And that was a comment that demeaned and ridiculed a military service member. As I have said before, Carla Thornton and I were political rivals. Angel Lopez and I are political rivals. But we both served this country, all of us, Carla, myself, and Angel. And to have a member of the public come up here and ridicule a fellow military service member was rude and disrespectful. And it should not be allowed on this city council. Thank you.
Next speakers.
Robert Thin, Susan Seitz, and Tom Jarrell.
Started. Good evening, Robert Fenn. I was going to talk. I thought I was going to talk before the conversation about F4. And my subject was going to be the representation for District 2. But obviously, a lot of that has already been discussed by other members. But I have a little different take on it. Several weeks ago, I sent an email out to each of you, mayor and the three council members. And the topic was very simple. It was District 2 representation. And the question simply was something to the effect is who is officially responsible for representing District 2 during the time that the District 2 City Council seat is vacant? 4 emails went out, 3 emails came back. I received an email from each of the council members, but Mayor, I never heard back from you. Never. And that's not the first time. And it was surprising to me that the responses from the 3 council members were almost exactly the same. They said essentially that districts have two representatives, the elected council member and the mayor. But unfortunately, when the mayor doesn't respond to an input from a District 2 representative, then there really is no District 2 representation on the city council. So now, the most egregious problem with this has been thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Susan Zeitz, Tom Jarrell, and Luis Palomares.
It isn't always easy to do what's right, and it's not supposed to be. It takes courage to do what's right when the path to do as you're directed is paved with gold. Mayor Gutierrez's education that allows him to teach our children doesn't mean he's ethical, moral, upstanding, or honest, but it should be enough for him to make him capable of articulating an explanation for the blight his negative actions are continuing to have on our air, environment, health, homes, lifestyles, economy, property values, infrastructure, diversity, and city finances. Just as predators groom vulnerable victims over many, many years, so has Ido Benzivi been grooming many of Moreno Valley's city officials, including Mayor Gutierrez and Victoria Baca, to gain majority, resulting in victimizing Moreno Valley in all detrimental ways possible. Mayor Gutierrez and Victoria Baca have become a puppet cross between a marionette and a dummy, with Benzivi pulling their strings, directing them to tell much of the city staff what to do and say, and of course, also having them vote to approve his projects regardless of their flaws, such as happened tonight. It's because Mayor Gutierrez and Victoria Baca are puppets that they appointed Benzivi and Chung to be GP General Plan Update Advisory Committee's members when they clearly lack the moral character to be unbiased, being 2 of the largest landowners and developers, including those areas of Northeast Moreno Valley that have gotten rezoned. What I fail to understand is how the majority of our city officials who were entrusted to protect our citizens, our health, our homes, and lifestyles continue to take advantage of that trust. So much for the city's ethical training to be impartial, promote equality, remember they serve the community, be truthful to the public, avoid any actions that would cause the public to question them, make decisions based on
Thank you.
merits.
Next speaker, please.
Tom Jarrell, Marge Andrews, and Luis Palomares.
Good evening, Tom.
Evening, Mayor. Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem, council members, members of the staff and the public, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Again, first of all, I'm spoke earlier, but I commend your vote on the general plan and moving it forward. I think it's important. I think it'll help bring good things to the city. And it's not the last hurrah. As I said, there'll be other elections, there'll be other decisions, and but it's an important step forward. I'm particularly pleased that we might get sewers in a section of the city. You know, you got that, it's really a massive amount of unsewered area. And over time, that you talk about environmental problems, And it gives you a one-way water trip, meaning the water goes up, it goes into the ground, doesn't go anywhere. When you have a recirculating system with a sewer system, you have a chance to reclaim it, reuse it, and get multiple use out of it. And given that our water comes from effectively 500 miles away, we need to make every drop count, especially in this climate we're going through at present here. And on large lot housing, there's a small adjunct community in Orange County nestled away in the hills called Coto de Casa, and it's got everything in there. It's got apartments, it's got condominiums, it's got mansions, it's got townhomes, it's got a little bit of everything, and quite a, it's not a slack community. As a rather wealthy friend of mine said about the community years ago, he said that community reeks money, and that's very nice little, it's a little best kept secret there. So you might study that. But finally, I'd like to speak about our fellow citizens. And I cannot tell you how many times I'll be out somewhere, getting out of my car, walking in a building, and how many people hold the door, help me, say, do you need help? They'll stop their car. Do you want me to help you? And it's no one section of the society, young people, old people, every color and background, people
Thank you. Thank you,
offer
Tom.
to help me, and I really
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Marge Andrews and Luis Palomares.
Is Marge here? Did you step outside?
Luis Palomares, community activist. Well, let's talk about disrespecting. We're disrespecting our mayor and our mayor pro tem right here, and even some of the council. I mean, come on. Bunch of lies again. The Liars Club right here. The Liars Club. I'm appalled. I'm appalled. You know how they come over here and they slander you and they say a lot of stuff that ain't even true. Just because they say it doesn't make it true, doesn't make it factual. That's their opinion. And for what it's worth, to me, nothing. They're mad because at the last meeting, we didn't get their people in there on the planning commission. They insulted, wow, I don't know you that well, Joanne, and I don't know Baker that well. Well, God, Baker's been there for a long time. And Marcus said, oh, wow, let's do term limits. Marcus, if you want to run for that seat 10 more times, should we do term limits on you? Come on. We're going to start that one up because it's convenient for you. And Joanne, 4 years. She's been on there 4 years. I guess she knows what she's doing. You learn as you go along. So, they're up in arms again. Because who would want these people? They don't want no progress. They don't want nothing here in our city. They want to keep it like the days of Noah. When? Thank God that you did a good job today. You made something happen. It's not etched in stone, but we're going forward. It's a step forward. And who's to know what's going to happen up there on, the east, north end? Wow, that all could be switched up and changed too. That ain't etched in stone. They might be able to get their executive homes, maybe half an acre, instead of 2 acres, quarter of an acre. Come on. It's not all done yet. But golly, they come in here and slander and lie and lie.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you.
Okay.
No more speakers, Mayor.
Okay. I'll go ahead and close the public comments. We're going to go to consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar, sections A, B, C, D, and E are considered to be routine and non-controversial and may be enacted by one motion unless a member of the city council would like that item to address. Items withdrawn for reporter discussion will be heard after public hearing items. At this time, we'll go ahead and have comments from council members. Councilmember Marquez, did you have a?
Yeah, I just got something real quick.
For the consent, right?
813.
Okay. Did you want to just make a comment?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Well, we're back again with this late, but you know what? I'm happy with it. And I want the individuals who were here last week that were hoping that it would get approved. I spoke to several of them and I said, it's gonna happen. There's just some glitches in the system. And once we talk a little bit, it's gonna happen. And it is. And I want to congratulate all these individuals that will be tonight, that will be appointed, that's on this slate. So congratulations to all the individuals. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Cabrera.
Yes, I also have only comments on A13, A10, and A9.
We'll just go ahead and start with 813 and then
On-
just go ahead and
Sounds good. So A13, I also just want to congratulate everyone who, is up here for appointments. I know that the last meeting, a lot of you saw how that went down, but I'm very glad that, we have this list here before us. And I'm glad, I actually want to thank the mayor for making those adjustments and, leaving the planning commission appointments off on this list. And definitely look forward to, voting yes on this item. A10 and A9?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So A10 and A9 are exciting items. I see Michael Wolf back there behind your mask. I know you're smiling. A10 and A9 is actually funding for road repairs. It's not as much as we would like, but it's a couple $1,000,000. I think it's like $3, $4, $5 million or so, somewhere in that area that we're getting from SB1. And so basically, these items are the list, actually contracts that we're awarding to the companies who are going to be doing the repaving and road maintenance and all that. So just bear with them. You're going to see the construction December or so, in the summer, sooner. Okay, so you're going to be seeing construction happening on roads throughout the city, but just bear with us. We're doing everything we can to fix as many roads as we possibly can as quickly as possible. So I just wanted to give our staff a shout out on that one. Thank you for working on that, and we're going to get some new roads pretty soon. Thank you.
the next item you had.
They were both the same.
They were both okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let me go back here. We did hear public comments already on this, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Marquez, second by Councilmember Cabrera. And then once it out, it should be popping up. Okay, please vote. Okay, item passes 4 yes. We'll move on to item F1. And these basically, F1 through F3 are kind of routine, but F1, public hearing establishing the appropriation scan limit for fiscal year 21-22. We'll have a report from Financial and Management Services Assistant Manager Brian Mohan.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Like you mentioned before, this is a routine annual item related to Prop 4 from 1979, more commonly known as GAN limit. Every year we come before the board to approve our calculation of our annual GAN appropriation limit. It places limits on the amount of tax proceeds that can be appropriated each year. This year, both general fund and the community service district have significant capacity for future revenue growth. Currently, the general fund limit is 147.7 million, with revenue subject to the limit of only being 91.4 million. For the CSD, the limit is 23.8, with revenue subject to the limit of 12.9 million. So much capacity for future growth. At this point, that concludes my presentation, but I'm here for any comments or questions you may have.
Okay, thank you so much. Any council questions of staff? Seeing none, go ahead and open the hearing. Madam Clerk, any testimony on this one?
None.
Okay, close the hearing. I'll entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations numbers 2 and 4.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Baca, second made by Councilmember Cabrera. Please vote. Okay, item passes for yes. And we'll move on to item F2, which is public hearing for delinquent solid waste accounts. Again, this is an annual item routine, and we'll have a report from Financial and Management Services.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. It is a routine item. It is the placement of solid waste delinquent accounts on the property tax rolls. Residents pay their property tax, and then solid waste would get paid with those property taxes. It is it is a manner of which we can go ahead and effectively get the delinquency paid on the property taxes. Currently, there's 4,538 property owners, totaling over $2 million on the delinquency list. Every particular owner has until June 24th to pay their delinquent bills with Waste Management to avoid being placed on the tax bill. At that point, we would then go ahead and finalize the delinquency list and submit it to the county tax collector. That concludes my presentation, but I'm available for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any council questions of staff? Okay, seeing none, I'll open the hearing. Any public testimony, Madam Clerk?
None.
Okay, close the hearing. Entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations numbers 2 and 3.
So moved.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just a quick comment. I do want to give a shout out to some folks from Waste Management that I see here. Good to see you again, Lily, and everyone else is here. I forget your name. It's right on the top of my head, but thank you all so much. I know there were some difficulties with COVID as well within Waste Management and services and all that, but you got through it. We worked together on that, and it's good to see you again.
All right. I'll entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations numbers 2 and 3.
I
So
move.
moved.
Okay, moved by, we'll do Councilmember Marquez. Second by Councilmember Cabrera. Okay, please vote. Okay, item passes 4 yes. We're going to move on to now F3, which is public hearing for delinquent nuisance abatement. And this is, I believe, has to do with the fire. So fire department. Chief Abdul.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. The item before you tonight is a request to conduct a public hearing for delinquent nuisance abatement accounts. In 2020, the Fire Prevention Bureau performed public nuisance abatements to remove hazardous and other nuisance conditions from vacant parcels in the city. After having been served with the notice to abate and given reasonable time for compliance, some property owners failed to abate the conditions found during their subsequent inspections. This report recommends that the City Council convene a public hearing to consider staff recommendation to adopt the proposed resolution of the City of Moreno Valley confirming assessments on certain real properties and approve placing the submitted property assessment list on delinquent nuisance abatement accounts on the fiscal year 2021-2022 Riverside County property tax rolls for collection. In June of this year, the Fire Prevention Bureau sent each vacant parcel owner as identified by the last equalized assessment roll a hazard or nuisance and abatement letter. Our parcels in Moreno Valley are inspected on or after April 30th to determine if the property owner voluntarily complied with the notice to abate, which was mailed in March. The city's municipal code allows that for the property, it's scheduled for abatement by a city contractor when the property owner fails to do so. This section also of the municipal code also allows recovery of costs associated with the said abatements. The property list for general nuisance and weed abatements is hereby submitted for review and consideration by the council. A statement of cost was mailed to the legal owner of record for each property requiring abatement action. The property assessment list is current listing of unpaid abatement costs incurred during 2020. These costs approved by the City Council resolution will result in a special assessment and will be levied on the fiscal year 2021-2022 tax bill if not paid directly to the city by August 1st, 2021. Therefore, staff recommends that you accept the and enact the resolution to recover the costs expended by the city. I'm available for any questions or comments that you may have. We also have our Fire Marshal Doug Bloom here tonight should you have any questions of him as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll just go with council questions of staff. We'll start with Councilmember Cabrera.
Oh, I have no questions. I
Okay,
think
no
it was
questions.
just-
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Marquez.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Where's our new fire marshal at?
In the auxiliary room.
He's in the auxiliary room right now.
Probably what I've seen him. Hopefully he's hearing and he's going to be coming through the door.
Oh, there he
we
is.
go.
Ta-da.
There he is. I just want to say congratulations. You have done a marvelous job with the city of Moreno Valley, and I'm really proud of you and getting your promotion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Any
Chief-
questions?
Yeah, I had a for the chief. Chief, what's the recovery rate on our delinquents?
That's probably best answered by finance staff. Once we take our action,
Okay.
then that then goes back to from
Our-
the property owner who is probably trying to sell his property. And in order to do so, he's got a lien on his property, and therefore he's got to submit payment to the city of Moreno Valley. And that's typically how we catch these folks.
Okay, I'll get back to Brian in a second. Next question, and maybe Brian should answer this one, is liens on property. Is there a time limit? Do they expire, or can they be up there for 10 years? Or I guess
Yeah,
Brian's.
I'll go ahead and take that one as well. So in essence, once the lien is placed on the property tax rolls, property taxes are paid on an annual basis. One would hope that they are being paid annually, but if they are not, there are certain requirements that the property tax collector, in essence, goes through. If there's delinquency over a certain number of years, typically around 4 to 5 years, they will look at doing a property tax lien sale and sell the home, in which everybody on that tax roll for that property would get their money back. So in essence, I would say it's 100%, but keep in mind that there always is some delinquency, but at some point, the city will recover those monies.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm. All right, I'll go ahead and open the hearing. Any public testimony, Madam Clerk?
None.
Okay, I'll close the hearing. Any would like to make comments or deliberation? No? Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion by council to approve staff's recommendations numbers 2 through 5.
I move.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Marquez, second by Councilmember Cabrera. We'll go ahead and call for the vote on that one. Okay, please vote. Thank you, Waste Management. Appreciate it. Mhm. Bye, Lily. Okay. And it's approved 4 yes. And great. Okay. So we'll go to City Council reports. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to do yours?
Sure.
The JP.
I'll do the
Yeah.
JPA and the WRCOG.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
I'll
don't
do them
mind?
both.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tonight, I'm providing an update from the Mark Joint Powers Commission meeting that was held on June 9th. The commission approved a contract for an audit of the profit sharing calculation between the JPA and Meridian Park LLC. We approved some minor adjustments to the JPA salary scale, and we approved a final parcel map for the commercial project at Cactus and Meridian. And we approved an agreement for the Lateral B drainage project. And that concludes my report for the Mark Joint Powers Commission. For WRCOG, or the Western Riverside Council of Governments, each year, WRCOG recognizes individuals and or organizations that put forth an extraordinary commitment to improving quality of life in Western Riverside County with an award for outstanding community service. The 2020 award for outstanding community service in the government category was awarded to RTA, the Riverside Transit Agency. In 2020, RTA launched the first of its kind meal delivery program to combat social isolation and delivered meals to homebound seniors and people with disabilities. RTA employees also supported the Moreno Valley Senior Center to prepare 7,620 meals for older adults struggling with access to food and facing mental health challenges due to isolation. We also appointed a new executive director for WRCOG, who is Kurt Wilson, and he will be aboard on or around July 1st. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Marquez, would you like to make your report?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. RTA agency released their latest ride guide. As of today, RTA will have the full routes again. Let me restate that. Some of the full routes, a lot of other ones are still being looked at to see how the ridership progresses once that we're out of this pandemic. The guides are provided, and the information's you can go on social media or you can go to the rtatransit.com and you can get some more information from there. And that concludes my report on RTA. Second report is on the RCA Board of Directors meeting on June 7th. Moreno Valley's MSHCP fee collection totaled $124,362, which includes 44 residential permits and 3.43 acres of commercial industrial for the month of April. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And then the report for RCTC, Riverside County Transportation Commission, is very short as well. It's actually a pretty good news item. Moreno Valley, very pleased to report that we've received over $430,000 of funding allocation to construct various pedestrian improvements throughout the city for this fiscal year. And then the funding is actually from RCTC's Senate Bill 821 competitive grant program, used for local pedestrian and bicycle projects. So that's another good news item for us. This concludes my report, and we'll go straight to City Manager's report.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members, City Council. Just two short items tonight. First is, as you know, there's a heat wave going on right now, so we did activate our cool centers. We have two in the city. One is at Conway Golf Course, and the other one is at Senior Center. And so please do take advantage of our cooling centers. So that could stay away from the heat. The second item is I just want to wish you guys a happy summer recess. This is our last meeting, and July we're going to go dark. But I know you guys are really not going to go on recess because I still do get a lot of calls and texts and emails and from all of you. So I'm open to that, but I do want to wish all of you a happy summer recess, and stay safe and stay cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, City Manager. We'll have closing comments, and we'll start with Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you. This Wednesday, tomorrow, Western Park, District 3, we're having a town hall meeting, and I split it up in two sessions. Tomorrow will be public safety. If you want to come out and ask the chiefs, Chief Salisbury is on vacation, so you'll have a replacement. But my understanding with Chief Armada would be out there. If you have any questions that you want to ask him, hey, come on out tomorrow at 6:30, Western Park. We'll have some refreshments, water and Kool-Aid or whatever. But come on out Saturday morning, same place, same location, 10 o'clock in the morning. Come out early because we want to get out of there early because of the heat. 10 o'clock Saturday morning, Western Park, and that's going to consist of our newly appointed CFO, treasurer, everything else, Bryant. He will be out there to answer any questions, along with our publics director. What did I say? Parks? No, public director, works director, Mike Wolf will also be out there. Come on out and ask him about our roads. We have all that money now. Come on out Saturday morning and drill them about our roads. So that's what I'll have going this weekend. Cool centers was already mentioned by city manager. You know, if you know any elderly people that a lot of them don't have air conditioning, uh, I don't know what else to say is, I don't know what transportation they can have to cool places, but I think if you would call RTA, they'll come by and pick you up for their dollar ride program. It's pennies. They can drive you up to the cool centers. They also come by and pick you up also. Um, we had a meeting this week with the CHP task force, DUI task force. Um, Stats are down considerably. Um, you wouldn't believe it, but I believe it was last week they had one fatality on the freeway, and there was no DUIs, fatalities. So they're out there doing their job. They do have that task force, and they will catch you if you're drinking. And along with the city of Moreno Valley, you want to drink and drive, get caught, pay the consequences. 4th of July, that little increase in our fines, I think it's working. I think it's really working. The complaints are down, but you know what? I caught somebody red-handed a couple of days ago, and PD went out, we wrote him up, $1,000 fine, and I guarantee you, it's not gonna happen again. So, no fireworks, illegal, you get caught, it's $1,000. There's no warning. We're not gonna give you a ticket that says, next one will be 1,000. No, that ticket will be $1,000. Freeway cleanup, Caltrans. Yeah, people have said, well, where are they cleaning up? I have no answer. I really don't. They'll clean up a portion of the freeway, homeless will come in, or they'll leave. As soon as Caltrans goes down the road, the homeless are right back again. So they haven't got no solution. But for the cleanup of the weeds, we're still fighting with Caltrans. I don't know what's going to take for them to get out here and do a complete cleanup on 60 and the 215. So we'll continue to harass them, fight with them, or whatever it takes. And with Mike Lee ahead of us out here and leading us, he's really getting on him. He's really getting on him. And myself and Councilman Cabrera, we've been talking to our officials up in Sacramento. So we'll clean up the freeways. It'll look nice. So just bear with us. And with that, I want to wish everybody a night, 9 o'clock. Yeah, wow. A quiet evening. We'll see you when I get back in August. But again, my phone's always on 24/7. You have any problems, call me. Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Marquez. We have closing comments from Councilmember Cabrera.
All righty. Good evening. Buenas tardes. It's really good to be here for the final meeting of this year before we go into summer recess. A lot of good things. It's been a very rough past year and 3-4 months or so, but we have made a lot of progress. Regardless of some of the setbacks and some of the roadblocks that we encountered, and today, actually, the state of California officially reopens. And Governor Newsom had a event just this morning, Universal Studios, and he was, talking a little bit about the guidelines and kind of what to expect. And so there's still, some minor requirements when it comes to wearing masks indoors, and businesses requiring folks to wear masks indoors. So just make sure you look that up and make sure you're being respectful. It's a lot of just being courteous and being respectful to everybody around you. Just wear your mask when you're indoors, please, and make sure you're following those guidelines. But other than that, Disneyland is reopening, and Universal Studios is reopening, and all these things. We're getting back to a more normal world. So that's exciting. And tonight, my brother Martin did come to speak. He said it's been like 3 years, and I'm glad that he came to share his thoughts. And it's always good to be around family, and to know that you can count on your family, and you get to see them here, in places like this, right? Talking about bringing things forth and implementing new ideas. And he was talking about a health campus, right? And that's actually part of what was identified in the general plan update. The two major hospitals that we have here and how we can capitalize on that and bring in new companies, bring in a health and tech campus, right? We can do it. We can get it done here in Moreno Valley. We have the people, we have the minds for it, we have all the tools at our disposal, and we just got to get to work. So definitely 100% on board with that one. I also just want to briefly, touch on this real quick that, regardless of our political views or policy differences and things like that, I think it's just important to reiterate that, we should always be respectful to one another, right? I don't think it's a good thing or a good look for our city because we all represent the city, regardless of what district we come from or what political party one might be affiliated with. It's important that we're respectful with one another because when we're up here and putting someone else down or a member of the public putting down a council member or a council member putting down another council member, people see that. People outside of Moreno Valley see that, and it's not a good look. I don't think that that's something that you know represents us well. So just wanted to point that out. The Dr. Collar J. Thornton Teen Spot just opened last week. I think maybe one of my colleagues will talk more about that, but beautiful facility, definitely very exciting, very colorful. Can't wait to see, a bunch of our youth using it, the ELC for their meetings and all of that. So very well done. Parks, city manager's office, everybody who was involved in bringing that together. Very, very good job. I know that ping pong table, y'all had a lot of fun with that. So amphitheater, June 24th. Definitely, I will see you there. The Paris Pavilion, quote unquote, food lab is going to be opening over the next several weeks. So stay tuned for that. It's actually in your district, Dave. Excited about that one. Demonstration garden is coming along as well. It's currently under construction right next to the amphitheater, right outside of the teen spot. It's going to be a nice trifecta there, those three amenities coming together. Tomorrow, I will be on a panel for the San Gabriel Valley City Managers Association, actually. They reached out to me. The discussion is about interactions between young council members, young elected officials interacting with city managers and how that dynamic works out, so asking questions, talking about that. And I'm glad that they would even think about me, so that definitely looking forward to that. I also want to congratulate the class of 2021, specifically the college and university students. There's been a lot of commencements. I want to congratulate everyone who has, received their degrees, and now you're moving on to bigger and better things. So congratulations to the entire class of 2021. Also, I would like to request that tonight I think it's appropriate with the reopening of the state that we close this meeting in honor of the approximately 600,000 American residents who have lost their lives due to COVID. I would like to close tonight's meeting in memory of all of our Americans. And with that, I just want to wish everyone a safe, happy summer. Enjoy, take care of your families, and we'll see you again in August. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cabrera. We'll have closing comments from Mayor Pro Tem Baca.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to say thank you to my colleagues that voted to approve the general plan update. I didn't know coming in tonight what was going to happen, but I know that if we would have not approved the general plan update, it would have been catastrophic because the EIR would have been thrown out and we'd have to pay over $1 million to, was it over $1 million? Over $1 million to redo the EIR. And a lot of the work that went out, it would go out the window and we would have to pay all that money once again to get started. So thank you for approving that. It really makes me proud to be up here when we can deliberate. We might not agree on everything, but we're moving the city forward. It's not about me. It's not about the mayor. It's not about the other council members. It's about moving the city forward. And sometimes we have to put our personal feelings aside and do what's best for the city. And I love my city. I've been here since 1990, and I've been advocating for jobs, for equity, and for housing. And it's all going to come together one day. Maybe not tomorrow, but eventually we can move forward. And this is the first step in moving in that positive direction. I also want to mention that on Thursday, the 24th at 5:30, we're going to have the grand opening for the new amphitheater. And I invite everybody to please come out. This is for you. And we'll have festivities right after. We're going to have the band Latin Nation playing. And I know that when they play at the 4th of July, everybody gets up and dances. So I know that it's going to be a lot of fun. And I was really happy that that band was picked. And you're going to have a lot of fun. So please come out. It's going to be warm. So dress cool. And we're going to have a lot of fun. So that's that. And then we have the 4th of July parade. For all the businesses that are out there, you still have time to put in your application and get your car out there and advertise your business for a very low fee. And everybody gets to see you, and it plays on TV for a month or two, and it just plays and plays over and over. So you'll get your name out there. I know we're gonna have a beer garden. We always do. So come out and have a cold one and enjoy the things that we do as a city for you as the residents of the city to enjoy and to, be there with your neighbors. And I heard that after the parade, there's an after party at Woody's on Frederick and Alessandro. So join us there. And then after that, you can come back to the amphitheater for the bands and the fireworks show. And it's going to be a lot of fun on the 4th of July. So please come out and spend the whole day with us and take advantage of everything we put out there for you. City manager, are we throwing candy out of the cars?
Yeah, we will have candy provided.
Okay,
So, yeah.
so just like I've said before, it's Halloween in July. So bring your kids out to the parade because we'll be tossing candy out of our cars. And I know the kids love it. I know that this is something we do all the time, except one time I remember, and COVID. It was last year, 4th of July. So since I've been here, it's only been twice that we've, missed this great opportunity to provide a lot of fun for our kids, with the candy. So that concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
And I'll see you back in August.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And like one of my colleagues, I mentioned, about respect, and I couldn't agree more. I think that's really, really important that we hold each other accountable, that we respect one another, and that's whether you're at the podium or it's colleagues to colleagues. I think that's really important, and I think we've shown that here tonight as well. We do have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere, and we usually have to start with a vision, and that's really what this general plan is about. It's a vision for our city, 2040. Pretty cool name, by the way. And but again, it's a planning tool, and like a planning tool, it can always be amended. And so, it's not all or none, tonight, in the sense that when projects come, there will still be a process in place where staff will analyze it, screen it, meet with them, and come up with various conditions. Then it'll go through to planning commission and whatnot, and then possibly an appeal, maybe even to council. So there's still going to be a lot of input. So that's very, very important to remember. I also want to congratulate the new appointments that were made, ratified here tonight, especially the kids. The kids, if you notice on that list, it stood for ELC, Emerging Leaders Council. So these kids range from the ages of 12 to about, actually a little bit above 17, but they're really, really excited to be a part of youth government here in the city of Moreno Valley. That's really what it is. We have youth government in colleges, high schools, and now we're going to continue to have a youth government here in the city that's going to be very, very active. And I want to thank Patty Solano and her team because they really, really have worked hard to develop a very innovative and new ELC team, or idea and program. We originally had the program but it wasn't as innovative. And I think now, with your team's input and everything, I think it's, there's a lot of kids that are super excited about it. I've received emails, they're just waiting, to get started. So I'm really excited about that. Some of you might have seen the Teen Center, which is known as the Carla J. Thornton Teen Spot. I was able to participate in that. I know Councilmember Marquez also attended, and also Councilmember Cabrera as well. And it was a really, really nice grand opening, ribbon cutting. The city manager was there, also staff members, Patty Solano, Parks and Rec Director Brian Mohan, you were there. It was really, really nice. There's going to be computers there. There's going to be areas for them to kind of like hang out. And it's just going to be a really, really nice center for our at-risk youth and just any young people that want to kind of hang out, receive mentoring, receive leadership skills. There's going to be a lot of programming involved. And then also our ELC leaders, they're going to be very involved in all of the programming for that. So I'm really, really super excited for that. There's also a ping pong table as well. And that's one of the, I was really, really excited about that. Those of you that know me, I love ping pong. And I heard that you like it too, right, Mike? Yeah, so we'll have to play. But yeah, really looking forward to the kids really having a great time and enjoying, that new center. Really want to advise everyone to really stay cool out there. It's going to get pretty hot this week. And like the city manager mentioned, we do have the cooling centers. Reach out to the mall, any of the shopping centers. Make sure you stay cool. Drink lots of water. And also, as mayor, I just want to invite everyone to the festivities that we're going to be having this summer. It's going to be jam-packed, amazing. Like Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, right after the parade, I didn't know about that after party, but after that, there'll be the Fun Fest and then the fireworks show. And so at the Fun Fest, we're going to have a lot of, we're going to have bands, or there's going to be vendors. And so it's going to be really nice. Bring a blanket, lawn chair, and just have some fun. And it'll be located right here at the Civic Center, right here where City Hall is. And bring, some sunblock as well. Want to thank all of the folks in our public safety team, our fire team, our police officers as well, our code officers as well, for all the work that you do. You've had a lot of work, especially yesterday and also this past week. So I want to thank you for your service. And today, we had a public safety committee, and you had all the reports, everything. It was great, wonderful. And I know that you guys are working really hard. So just continue to do what you do. So thank you for that. I do want to wish all of the fathers out there happy Father's Day coming up. And I hope that, you're able to celebrate. And, if you don't have your father, maybe celebrate a memory of him, and then maybe celebrate someone that's been like a father to you. I think that's also important too. Take someone out to eat or something like that. And that's really important. And at a request of Councilmember Cabrera, we'll go ahead and close the meeting in adjournment of the 600,000 lives that were lost due to this pandemic COVID. We'll close the meeting in their memory. Thank you. And we are now adjourned at 9:15 p.m.